Please welcome to the stage the President and CEO of the Chamber, Craig Whitney.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the 2018 State of Technology event. Thank you all for being here with us today. We have a great lineup of speakers for you to hear from this morning. I would like to thank Senator Hoeven for the great partnership we have shared on this event for the past 8 years. Please be sure to share what you learned today on Twitter by using the hashtag StateOfTech18 throughout the event. Our presenters will be sharing great information, and you can help share that information and have it reach others by tweeting what you learned today. Before we get started, I'd like to recognize our sponsors. We wouldn't be able to host an event like this without their tremendous support. A special thank you to our presenting sponsor, Dakota Carrier Network. They have partnered with us. This is their 3rd year, and we very much appreciate their support. Our gold sponsors today, Cable One, Microsoft, Midco, and Sanford Health. Silver sponsors, Consolidated Communications, NDSU Research and Tech Park, True IT. And our corporate table sponsors, 702 Communications, Border States Electric, Discovery Benefits, High Point Networks, Network Center, Razor Consulting Solutions, Altag, and Excel Energy, and our event production sponsor, Media Productions. These companies believe in the future of North Dakota and the importance of technology in helping us achieve our goals. Let's give them all a round of applause. Now I would like to introduce to you this year's MC, Eric Piella, Head of Brand and Buzz at CoSchedule. Come on up, Eric.
Well, welcome everybody. Rise and shine. How we feeling? Good? You're like, I'm really excited about this cup of coffee right now. Well, I'm excited. I'm unapologetic about my enthusiasm. I have to remember I'm a marketing guy up here talking to a room of technologists, so I apologize for my antics up here. But I'm excited. I've been lucky enough to be part of 4 technology companies in the Fargo-Moorhead area. The last of being a CoSchedule, recently 153 on the Inc. 5000, doing some great things. But I know that's not why I was invited here to be your MC. I'm also my mother's IT guy, which is why I'm pretty sure I'm up here today. Maybe not. But it's going to be a fantastic event. I want to thank Senator Hoeven and the Chamber for putting this on. As he mentioned, this is the 8th year for the State of Technology. We are sold out. Give yourselves a round of applause, am I right? Never underestimate Fargo-Moorhead's desire to get out of the office. We will fill a room if we need to, am I right? Well, it's going to be a fantastic event. And I think it's great that we're all here because we know that technology is an important piece of North Dakota's growth and development. It provides economic diversity, which we need. And the technologies of tomorrow are happening right now. The future is now, folks. And it's happening because of the people in the room today. There are some amazing innovations taking place, success, they're creating jobs, and that's why Senator Hoeven and the Chamber have partnered to take some time, right, to talk about the events, the products, the solutions, the services, the technologies that you are creating. And so I can't wait to bring some of those thought leaders on to showcase some of the great technologies and companies that are doing that today. I sincerely hope that you take something, you learn something from this conference, bring it back, create some good dialogue with your coworkers on some innovations, technologies you can implement within your company. Well, great. Well, it wouldn't be an MC gig if I did not have some housekeeping things. We have a stacked lineup of presenters today. So much so, if you can see in your program there the names we have, so much so with our few hours, we're just going to blaze right through without a break this morning. So everyone drink up your coffee right now, right? No one's leaving their seats. Honestly, we won't have a break, but if you need to use the restroom, there's snacks, there's coffee. Get up when you need to. It's going to be a fantastic event with lots of learning. So with that, are we ready to kick this off? Who's ready? Should we do it? Yeah. All right, all right. Beautiful, beautiful. Now, don't forget, this is the State of Technology, and Craig mentioned as well. Take your phones out. Put them on silence. Don't be that person, am I right? Don't want the phone to ring where Senator Hoeven's talking. Don't want to be that person, right? But also, make sure you use the hashtag StateOfTech18. Brag to all your coworkers and friends that you're not in the office and you're learning about technology. So please do so. Beautiful. I'm here to introduce now our first guest. Let's get the show on the road. And his name is Seth Arndorfer, and he has served as the CEO of Dakota Carrier Network, or DCN, since August of 2013. DCN operates a fiber broadband network created in 1996, just as I was graduating high school, by 15 independent and rural telecommunications companies that serve North Dakota. DCN and its member companies have over 40,000 miles of fiber optic cable installed across North Dakota. In addition to supporting the extensive fiber network, DCN also operates multiple data centers space in the state. Now, Seth has more than 20 years of experience working in the North Dakota telecommunications industry. Prior to becoming DCN CEO, Seth has had various telecommunication roles, such as business and product development, sales, marketing, my man, and management. All right, please help welcome Seth Arndorfer, CEO of our presenting sponsor, Dakota Carrier Network. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Eric. Well, good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us today for, like you said, the 8th year of the State of Technology Conference. This is DCN's 3rd year, actually, being the presenting sponsor. This is a really important, I think, venue for North Dakotans to get together and kind of really motivate each other about the opportunities, the innovation that's happening in the state. I want to thank Craig and the Chamber for putting this event on, and Senator Hoeven for his support in the event as well. You know, DCN's story is really a story of collaboration and innovation and a public-private partnership that was formed back 20 years ago when the state of North Dakota recognized that they needed to connect all of their endpoints. Let me make sure I get my slides going here. Nope. Maybe not. I see them in front of me here. Okay.
Technology, am I right?
Technology, isn't it great? Now we're cooking. Okay, so 20 years ago, the state government in North Dakota recognized they needed to tie all of their state agencies, schools, National Guard locations, all of higher ed together. And DCN and our 15 independent telephone companies got together and said, you know, what we really need to do is collaborate, work together, and give the state government a single point of contact to work with. And so we submitted as DCN that proposal to connect all of those endpoints. And from that point, we've started out, at that time, they were T1 connections, a 1.5 megabit connection. Since that time, we've upgraded it 5 times, and now we're just next year gonna roll every school in the state up to a 1 gig connection. This is unprecedented. It's happened in pockets across the United States, but it's never been done on a statewide effort before in the past. And we're really proud of that. Governor Burgum and us, along with our 15 independent rural broadband providers, had a press release last March announcing that rollout. This map shows the DCN fiber backbone in blue, and then it also shows our 14 or 15 rural broadband providers' backbones, their fiber networks. And if you heard in the introduction, we have 40,000 miles of fiber connecting. This isn't 40,000 miles, this is the backbone fiber. But off of this backbone, we've taken that fiber and taken it to the home. We've taken it to the farm. We've taken it to the elevator, just to put the infrastructure in the ground to enable all of you as entrepreneurs and business leaders to leverage that infrastructure to communicate with each other And as you know, if we look back to when the telephone companies were created, and mostly by the cooperatives in North Dakota, their users had a need, and that need was to communicate with their neighbors, communicate with other friends and businesses via phone. Well, 70, 80 years later, that's still what we're doing, except for now, we're not just wanting to communicate via voice to each other, we want to communicate to everything. We want to communicate to that grain bin. We want to communicate with our tractors. We want to determine yield. So that constant communication is the key. And the fiber investment that we've made really is enabling you to come up with those new applications, and we're really proud of that. What we're doing in North Dakota is being recognized. I just read an article last week from an author that wasn't a North Dakotan that said North Dakota is the crown jewel of the internet in the Midwest. It's because of the investment that we've made, that our owners have made in the fiber optic infrastructure. But it's really more than fiber. We need a true, whoops, I'm gonna go back one more, hopefully. We need not only fiber, but we're needing to store that data. We're generating massive amounts of data. So we invested in fiber, now we've invested in data centers to store that data that you want to interact with, whether it's the yields, whether it's drone footage, all of these different applications that you're gonna hear about today is very data intensive, and that's really what we've positioned ourselves for going forward. If you have time this afternoon, we are doing our ribbon cutting. We're really excited about our data center expansion here in Fargo. We are just opening our hardened Tier 3 redundant, 100% redundantly designed data center to house your data. And whether you're a financial institution, state government, whether you're an entrepreneur, we can give you the ability to scale without making that huge capital investment. We've really, over the years, our customers vary from a small web developer that just needed us to spin up a virtual machine for them and gave them the ability to get into business, all the way up to our anchor tenant in the data center expansion is Border States Electric, where they're moving all of their compute and all of their logistics and their payroll and all of their inventory systems into our data center. So we're really excited about that. I think maybe I'm a little biased. I'm a lifelong North Dakotan, but I think that North Dakota, because of the investment and because of the leadership and the fact that we have companies like the DCN owners that have worked together for all these years, that if we get together in venues like this and we brainstorm together, that North Dakota truly could house or create organically the next technology giant. I think we can, regardless of the bandwidth demands, regardless of the data generation, the power consumption, we're set for that. And as DCN, more than likely you're out in the audience today, and if you think that you are and you have some real unique needs, please reach out to us. So with that, enjoy the show, and I'm excited to hear the rest of the speakers.
Thanks so much. Thank you so much, Seth, and thank you to DCN for being the presenting sponsor. I will let my mom know she doesn't need to dial up to 28.8 anymore through AOL. We have a lot of fiber in our state now, which is great. So we'll jump to our next presenter. We're going to get rocking and rolling here. And I want to welcome to the stage Yossi Sedone, who is a project implementation lead for Title Care, and Dr. Jennifer Rahm, who is the Medical Director of Clinical Services and Sanford Health. Let's give them a round of applause.
Well, thank you. It's great to be here this morning. So I'm an internal medicine physician. I have never been asked to speak at a tech conference before, so brace yourselves. My patients are adults with a variety of medical needs. I treat diabetics, patients with heart disease, arthritis, depression, asthma. Those are just a handful of the conditions that I see on a regular basis. The most high-tech tool that I use on a daily basis in my exam room is this. Well, apart from my computer, my stethoscope is my high tech. It's the same stethoscope that I bought in my first month of medical school back in 1997. I've lost it several times, and it's always found its way back to me. I've never needed to replace it. A lot has changed in medicine since my days as a student, but one thing that hasn't changed is that I still examine patients the same way that doctors have been examining their patients with the stethoscope for over 200 years. So now you're all getting nervous saying, what in the world is she doing talking about high tech and healthcare? Well, the stethoscope was invented in 1816. So what am I doing here? Sanford could have asked one of our amazing surgeons, you know, they perform really cool surgeries with robots. Or they could have asked an interventional cardiologist to come and talk with you about how we can actually avoid major surgeries now, putting coils in patients through catheters. But no, they asked a general internist to come and speak to you about technology. Because as great as robotic surgery and interventional cardiology are, and they're evidence of the amazing advances that we have in healthcare, I hope that it's true that the vast majority of you here today will never need those services. But I promise you, you all need a primary care doctor. Primary care doctors, internists like me, family doctors, pediatricians, we are trained to listen to patients' stories. We take bits of those stories that we hear, and we use that information to start to consider a preliminary diagnosis. I promise you we'll get to the high tech soon. Next, we perform an examination. And it's there where we touch and we feel and we listen and we see. And what we gather helps us to create a more likely diagnosis. Most primary care physicians see this interaction with patients as a sacred institution, one that shouldn't be altered or messed with in any way, shape, or form. But we operate in a fast-paced, dynamic, and rapidly changing industry where our patients are consumers, and they expect more from us. So, what role does technology have in an interaction between a doctor and a patient that is fundamentally very low tech? That's where the collaboration between Sanford Health and TytoCare comes. With TytoCare, I can sit in my office in downtown Fargo and examine a patient who is sitting in her living room 300 miles away. It turns out things aren't as low tech as I thought. But before we go any further, let me tell you a little bit about who Sanford is and where we are going. Sanford Health is the largest rural, not-for-profit healthcare system in the nation. We serve nearly 300 people in over 300 communities in 9 states. We cover over 250,000 square miles, and we are growing. At Sanford, we provide over 5 million visits annually, and many of those are in rural communities. If we want to reach all of these patients, we physicians have to embrace innovative ways to communicate with our patients, in alternative ways to touch and to feel and to examine our patients. We've started video visits and e-visits to expand our reach, but as you can see, it's not yet a significant part of our business, but it will be. Just a few years ago, these numbers were at 0, so we're making progress. And this is where TytoCare and Sanford Health and their collaboration come into play. We think that's the game changer to start moving these numbers higher. With TytoCare technology, Sanford physicians can listen to patients' stories and perform an examination, whether it's across the town or across the state. We are currently piloting the TytoCare devices with 3,000 patients so that we can learn what benefits this type of alternative care can offer to both our patients and to our physicians. Previously, we've targeted our e-visits and our virtual visits at acute care needs. But now we are starting to recognize that virtual health goes beyond acute health. And conditions like diabetes and congestive heart failure and asthma that require periodic interventions and touch bases can be done remotely. And we can use the examination that TidalCare provides to help us be confident in our care. Obviously, we can't treat emergencies. And what's interesting, though, is patients don't always know what is an emergency. And so patients might not seek out care at times when they should. And so if emergencies do arise, it's our job as the physician taking care of the patient to direct patients to the clinic or the emergency room if the need is appropriate. So how does all this work? How do we make this happen? I'm going to pass things over to my co-presenter Yossi now to let you know.
How do you start the slide? Okay. So can I go back? Okay, sorry. So at this point, usually a demo would be in place, but I don't want you guys to see that my heart is racing at 180, so we're going to skip the demo. So I wanted to give you like just an overview of how the system exactly looks like. So on the left side here, this is more like deep dive into technical. On the left side, there's the patient sits at home with discomfort, and they want to see a doctor. And what they need to do is they have an app on the smartphone and the device with a set of adapters, and they can start a session, a video session over Wi-Fi with the physician. The physician sits on the other side. It could be either, he or she could be either at the clinic or at home if they're doing shit from there, and just do like a live visit. It starts with like a Skype-style like video session, and also data from the device streams in real time, and they can perform guidance to the patient, explain them what to do and how to do better. Now, the information is always being encrypted at rest and in transit because we're talking about patient information. So, and the physician also has an option to save the data for later access in case they want to in the cloud. So if we do like a zoom in into the different parts, we have the patient side. That's a smartphone with the app, and there's the device. It's a handheld device. In it, they have like an infrared thermometer, so it's a non-touch thermometer. You point it at a specific area, and then it can measure. You hold it for a few seconds without touching, and then it measures the temperature. It also has a built-in camera, so you use it for like visual exam if you want to show a skin exam, high resolution of a rash or something like that, or for a throat exam. The kit also comes with 3 adapters. We have the rightmost is the tongue depressor. The tongue depressor is like what, in case the patient is struggling with like, suppressing the tongue down, this is what they use in order to perform the exam. The square-shaped thing is basically a digital stethoscope like the one you've seen before with Dr. Ram. So you place it here, you put it on specific areas, and then it can stream audios from the heart and the lungs straight to the doctor. And the last piece, this last adapter, is an otoscope. You place it here, and then you can navigate. You set it into the ear, and then you navigate with the ear canal, and then until you get like a good image of the eardrum. That's that in a nutshell. So right now we're doing with Stanford, we're mainly doing like live online visits. So the patient and the physician are supposed to be at the same time talking to each other. The physician provides guidance. But we are also supporting a new kind of like flow, which is called store and forward in the industry, or offline asynchronous exam. So the patient can perform different exams on himself or herself at home, and then send it to the doctor. The doctor can review, diagnose, and then provide kind of like recommendations and prescription. And they don't have to coordinate the timing. You just send it, in a couple of hours, you're going to get a diagnosis. But in order to get this done correctly, we wanted to make sure, we added a few models to make sure that are being done, that the exams are done okay in a meaningful way. So the first thing is we added a Tidal Academy. So the patient can go through some training, instruction of the different exams that can be done with the device. They can practice each and every exam again and again until they feel comfortable that they can do it on their own. By the way, I witnessed it. It's kind of like, it's weird, but it's kind of like a fun family activity for a Saturday afternoon in a way. You can do that, play. You make fun of each other's wax in the ear and stuff like that. Yeah, fun stuff. So that's the academy part. So the patient now is trained and they know how to do the exams. What we want to make sure is now that when the provider gets the set of exams, they know what the context, because they don't have the patient in front of them asking them what's going on and what to talk about. So we added the left image, as you can see, we added like a first impression, so the patient can record a 30 seconds video explaining the reason for the visit, and the physician can see that video, hear what they have to say, and also they can get a sense if they sound tired, if they sound kind of like disoriented, if they're pale, if they're sweaty, so they get a sense of what's going on there. I know she doesn't look very sick. We should use a different image for this one. The next one is basically, so we have that video, but physicians want to see information in a structured way. So they want to see a list of the symptoms, and patients, they don't know how to explain. They're not professional. They don't know how to explain in a very structured way what's going on. So they can add the free text, and through natural language processing, NLP, the system translates the text into structured data. So the physician at the office gets a package with all the exams. They can see the video, get an impression, see all the structured data, and now they can ready to start looking at the exams. So we got the patient trained, we got the context, the videos, and everything, but now we want to make sure that the patient captures the right data correctly. And they're not a trained professional, so we can't count on the patient, even though they've been trained, that they got the right image or the right sound. So I want to show you a couple of things. So this is an example of using a stethoscope, so like a lung exam or heart exam. They place it on a specific area, and they can get feedback from the app whether it's too noisy, and if it is, it's going to indicate you should lower the volume, you should lower the, I don't know, close the TV or something. If you're pressing too hard, this also creates artifacts of sound. So it also tells them don't press too hard, so to get the exam done. And only when the recording is in a good enough quality, a meaningful clinical quality, you get like a check mark saying you did fine, you can move on. The next example is for an ear exam. So through the device has like gyroscopes and accelerometers like you have on your smartphones, and through the ear exam, it can provide an image processing. It can provide guidance. So you put it in, you insert it, and then it gives you error, turn to the left, to the right, until you get the image of the eardrum, and then you get a check, and you know that the exam is okay. So in order to support the offline, we got them practicing. We got the patient also providing like the context with the video, and also we're making sure they capture the right exam. So that when the physician gets everything, they can see it and look and diagnose, and if needed, provide recommendations and also prescribe medications all remotely without needing to be at the same time or at the same place. So that's that in a nutshell. I would say the summary is that, too long TLDL, Stanford Health and TytoCare are partnering to put the health in the hands of the patients, literally and figuratively. That's it. Thank you.
Awesome. Fascinating stuff. Thank you so much, Yossi and Dr. Ram. I appreciate that. Some really unique use cases for that. Let's keep rolling. And we have quite the guest to introduce next. I'm extremely honored to have him with us today. It is Andrei Iancu. He's the Undersecretary of Commerce for Intellectual Property and Director of the United States Patent and Trademark Office. You know how important they are about how long their title is. It's awesome. Andrei provides leadership and oversight to one of the largest intellectual property offices in the world, with more than 12,000 employees and an annual budget of over $3 billion. He also serves as the principal advisor to the President, to the Secretary of Commerce on domestic and international intellectual property policy matters. Let's give a strong North Dakota welcome to Director Andrei Iancu.
Thanks, Eric. By the way, the longer the title I've discovered since I've gotten to Washington earlier this year, the less important you are. Think about it. President, really important. Senator, and then my very long title. Thanks, Eric, and congratulations, first of all, for the incredible energy you display at 8 a.m. That's really remarkable. And I want to thank everybody for having me here, and special thanks to Senator Hoeven for inviting me. Special thank you also to the Fargo-Moorhead West Fargo Chamber of Commerce for co-hosting this impressive conference. I really am delighted to be here. By the way, I understand that Fargo has been listed as the 6th happiest place in the country. I'm not sure if Washington, D.C. made that list. I'm going to ask Senator Hoeven that a bit later. But I really I can understand why North Dakota in general is such a special place to live. And I'm especially thrilled to be here in this state representing the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office, here in the state that boasts one of the country's first entrepreneur outreach centers at the University of North Dakota's Center for Innovation. The center has a $1.3 million budget and remarkably has fostered over 500 startups and attracted over $130 million in investment. Dedicated to providing every kind of assistance necessary to inventors and entrepreneurs so they can launch new ventures, commercialize new technologies, and secure access to capital from private and public sources. The center has grown since its founding 34 years ago to become the leading rural entrepreneur facility in the nation. It's also worth noting that in 2017, just last year, the Kaufman Foundation, which supports investment in education and entrepreneurship nationwide, ranked North Dakota number 3 in growth entrepreneurship and number 4 on their Main Street Entrepreneurship Index. Given all that, it's no wonder that North Dakota is home to some of the country's most innovative thinkers, researchers, and entrepreneurs. And that's been the case for a very long time. Take, for example, David Henderson Houston, a homesteader from Hunter, North Dakota. Houston invented camera film and forever changed the world of photography. Born in Scotland 40 years earlier, Houston was a farmer by trade, but had always been exceptionally inventive. In 1867, he patented his first photo camera, and after moving to Hunter in 1879, he not only improved the design for a disc plow, but also helped develop blue stem seed wheat. But Houston's main interest was photography. And through a business relationship with entrepreneur George Eastman, he came up with an idea that would take the portable camera to a whole new level. On October 11, 1881, Houston received patent number 248179 from the U.S. Patent Office for photographic apparatus described as a camera whose inner end has a receptacle containing a roll of sensitized paper or any other suitable tissue, such as gelatin or any more durable material that may be discovered, and an empty reel upon which the sensitized band is wound as rapidly as it has been acted upon by the light. In other words, Houston invented film on a roll. And for the sum of approximately $5,000, Houston sold his patent to Eastman. And soon the first Kodak camera was introduced with a slogan, as you probably know, you press the button, we do the rest. With that, an immense business, indeed an empire, was built. Interestingly, I understand that it is said that Houston came up with the name Kodak by playing with an abbreviation of where he lived, Northern Dakota, or Nodak, and changed it to Kodak. Today, the beautiful farmhouse that Houston and his wife built is a tourist attraction at Bonanzaville in West Fargo, just 6 miles from here. Now, that innovation from more than 100 years ago in this state did not stop. About a century after Houston patented his photographic apparatus, Another family here in Fargo began developing a DOS-based accounting system to manage their own business dealings. Eventually, the Burgum family's youngest son, Douglas, mortgaged $250,000 of farmland that his late father left him to invest in an accounting software company called, as you all know here in this room, I'm sure, Great Plains Software. Though fearful of losing everything he had, Doug Bergman used that fear as a driving force. Turns out, he was a pretty good entrepreneur. Using a down-to-earth approach of building relationships and providing excellent customer service, he gradually grew the company, and by 1986, the DOS version of Great Plains was gaining prominence, and resellers began to sprout up around the country. As technology evolved, Great Plains began work on a Windows-based accounting system, which was released in the early 1990s as Great Plains Dynamics. Within 2 years, Great Plains released 2 versions of Dynamics and changed the name of the higher-end Dynamics CS Plus to Great Plains E-Enterprise. All the while, Great Plains continued to build a stellar reputation for extensive product features, friendly and knowledgeable resellers, stable product code, and excellent product support. Indeed, Great Plains had a guaranteed response time, something customers and employees both loved. And it was this foundation around customer service that became Great Plains' path to becoming one of the 100 best places to work in the country. On May 8, 2000, Great Plains acquired its rival Solomon Software for approximately $140 million, and less than a year later, Microsoft acquired Great Plains for about $1.1 billion. 17 years later, the Burgum family's youngest son, an entrepreneur who literally bet the farm on his startup, became the 33rd governor of North Dakota. And then there is Apareo Systems, a Fargo-based product development and technology company that has become a recognized leader in the custom development and manufacture of low-cost and innovative avionics solutions for original equipment manufacturers. In fact, I saw in the brochure today, sitting at our tables, there's a story about them. Founded in 2003 by Barry Batchelor, John Deere's former director of technology growth, Apareo Systems has grown to 120 employees, making it one of the biggest independent companies working in agricultural electronics. Indeed, in 2010, Apareo Systems was named to Inc. magazine's Inc. 500 list of the fastest growing private companies in the United States. Moreover, it was at the time the #1 fastest growing engineering company in the country. Not only is Apareo well staffed with engineers, many of whom graduated from the North Dakota State University, but Apareo also employs a full-time patent agent. And with a portfolio of 25 issued patents corresponding to vehicle and avionics solutions like transponders and locators, the company has, not surprisingly, been the 5th biggest patentee in North Dakota for the last 10 years. Barry Batchelor came to North Dakota to get his engineering degrees at NDSU. And he stayed. And he worked with NDSU to start its research and tech park. This combination of technology, public, private, academic enterprises, that's what creates and grows an innovation and entrepreneurship ecosystem. And North Dakota has done it so incredibly well. Indeed, as the stories of David Houston, Governor Burgum, and Apareo illustrate, the results of innovation and entrepreneurship throughout the country and throughout our history have been remarkable. And economic studies have confirmed the benefits of a well-balanced modern intellectual property system, which often forms the backbone of these ecosystems. For example, approval of a startup's first patent application increases its employment growth over the next 5 years by 36 percentage points on average. Another study estimates that patent protection motivates US companies to invest 33% more in research and development than they would if there were no patent protection. Innovation and IP-intensive industries are indeed critical to this country's economic well-being. In 2014, IP-intensive industries directly and indirectly supported 45.5 million jobs, nearly 1/3 of all US employment. Plus, in 2014, workers in American IP-intensive industries earned an average weekly wage of $1,312, which was 46% higher than the average wages in non-IP-intensive industries in the private sector. Those are remarkable statistics. So there is no secret to the benefits of a robust IP-intensive ecosystem. And indeed here in North Dakota, industry and government leaders recognize that strong innovation, entrepreneurship, and investment are vital to this state's economic future. That's why they've all come together to build and sustain a vibrant and flourishing innovation ecosystem. For example, NDSU has a research and technology park, as I've mentioned, which, through partnerships with international, national, and regional centers of excellence, as well as with high technology-based businesses and the research community at NDSU, helps develop technology-based businesses that diversify North Dakota's economic base. NDSU's Research and Technology Park also has a 50,000 square foot technology incubator facility that is designed to help entrepreneurs, whether they're seasoned or just starting out, to transform their ideas into successful businesses. Additionally, NDSU's Research and Technology Park annually hosts its Innovation Challenge, an idea competition for students, encouraged to come with any ideas, anything that might one day become a business or at least the cause for future research. Student participants develop their ideas over the course of a semester-long competition in one of 3 innovation tracks with prizes up to $4,000. And then there is Governor Burgum's Main Street ND initiative, which is a shared vision of a healthy, vibrant community that, through fiscally responsible planning, attracts the talent needed to support the state's growing economy. Each year, the Main Street Awards, a collaboration among the Governor's Office, the North Dakota Department of Commerce, and the North Dakota League of Cities, honor communities that are actively working to differentiate and enhance the quality of life of their present and future residents. The North Dakota Department of Commerce also provides services in a whole variety of areas to assist with innovation and entrepreneurship. And of course, there is this very conference, led annually by Senator Hoeven, which is meant to highlight breakthrough technologies and the local innovators creating them, and to position North Dakota as a hub of technology entrepreneurship. Through these and other efforts, North Dakota is creating a rich entrepreneurial ecosystem that rewards the innovators in its state, those who are building economies, securing investments, creating technologies, and risking it all in the process. And how successful it has been. In doing so, North Dakota is poised to attract and retain a 21st century workforce, helping the state compete and succeed in a global economy. Indeed, in this and any innovation ecosystem, intellectual property is a fundamental pillar to achieving overall success. To raise investment, protect markets, and enable the outflow of innovation to adjacent industries, a well-functioning, carefully balanced patent system is a necessity, and its benefits are unmistakable. Take, for example, the patented technology of dedicated researchers at NDSU that holds the promise of improving the lives of millions. NDSU pharmaceutical sciences researcher, Dr. Stephen Kayan, he discovered a new approach that represents a paradigm shift in cancer treatment by leveraging the body's natural defenses to inhibit cancer growth as well as enhancing current chemo agents. The main anti-cancer compound developed by Dr. Kian has shown significant reduction in the size of tumors associated with multiple cancers in animals. Dr. Kian's discovery was critical for NDSU to enter into a licensing agreement with a company called Oncothera. Together, NDSU and Oncothera are working to optimize Dr. Kian's approach and progress studies towards human clinical trials. Another interesting technology developed at by NDSU researchers is smart paper. Val Marinov and his team at NDSU's Center for Nanoscale Science and Engineering patented a laser process to apply tiny silicon chips to paper. These chips then use a technology called radio frequency identification, or as you probably all know, as RFID, that can be tracked via radio signals. It is the goal of Dr. Marinov and his team to achieve mass production and drive down the costs of embedded microchips to a few cents per paper. Dr. Marinov and his team see potential uses of smart paper to include lottery tickets and mass transit passes, as well as election ballots and financial documents. They even envision a potential benefit of smart paper in preventing currency counterfeiting. These technologies developed in academia are not being kept there. Using the patent system and entrepreneurship and innovation, these technologies are being transferred into the national economy. Protecting the fruits of the genius, imagination, creativity, and determination of Dr. Kian and Dr. Marinov and all of our nation's scientists, inventors, and entrepreneurs is what the United States PTO does. Day in and day out at the USPTO, over 12,000 employees work tirelessly to secure intellectual property rights for the inventors and brand owners that lead to new products, employment opportunities, and a strong economy. And we've been doing this since the founding of our nation, when Thomas Jefferson himself was examining patents as Secretary of State. To better serve those in the inventor community and help them succeed, the USPTO offers a wide variety of resources for entrepreneurs, startups, and small businesses, as well as independent inventors. For example, they can call our Inventors Assistance Center, which is staffed by former patent examiners, intellectual property specialists, and attorneys who can answer general questions concerning patent examining policy and procedure. Similarly, the USPTO's Trademark Assistance Center is available to answer questions from the public on a variety of trademark topics, such as general information about how to register a trademark, updates on the status of trademark applications and registrations, and answering case-specific questions about an application or a registration. Additionally, innovators can take advantage of our patent pro bono and patent pro se assistance programs, which help financially under-resourced independent inventors and small businesses. They can also use our IP awareness assessment tools to self-assess their IP assets and obtain information customized to their IP needs. Or use our trademark litigation toolkit, which helps individuals who may have been sued or received a cease and desist letter over a trademark dispute. All of these tools and many more are free until you pay the registration fees. Just kidding. Just kidding. They are free and easily accessible through our newly updated website at uspto.gov. Another way the USPTO supports small businesses is through our small entity and micro-entity discounts that can reduce the cost of applying for a patent by up to 75%. That can make a big difference for a new startup. Additionally, the USPTO regularly holds a 2-day annual Women's Entrepreneur Symposium to connect women entrepreneurs and all others interested with education, information, and resources to help start, build, and grow a business using their intellectual property. held in cities across the nation and featuring successful women inventors, innovators, and entrepreneurs. These events enable attendees to gain valuable insights into the importance of IP in creating and developing a business, as well as knowledge of programs and resources available for their use. Similarly, the USPTO's China Intellectual Property Roadshow is a free one-day program that brings together experts from the US government, academics, IP attorneys, and local business people who share their insights on China and IP issues that will benefit American companies who want to do business in China. Since 2017, the USPTO has conducted more than 20 China IP roadshows throughout the United States, ranging from larger metropolitan areas such as Boston, New York, and Chicago, to smaller cities including Iowa City, Portland, Oregon, and Louisville, Kentucky. In addition to featuring notable speakers, each roadshow features a panel discussion focusing on local business interests with representatives from local and regional companies who provide their experience on protecting and enforcing IP rights in China. The next China IP Roadshow will be held in Boise, Idaho on December 14, 2018, and the USPTO's China team is in the process of finalizing cities to present the China IP Roadshow for 2019. Please visit the USPTO website for more information and details on this and all of our other programs. Last but not least, the USPTO's regional offices exist to make our services more readily available to local communities and their unique industry and innovation needs. In addition to our headquarters in the Washington, D.C. area, Alexandria, Virginia to be specific, we have 4 regional offices in Detroit, Dallas, Denver, and San Jose, California. Now, additionally, the USPTO works in collaboration with other administration agencies, such as the Small Business Administration and the National Science Foundation, to provide patent system users with information on how to leverage available government resources during the filing process of an application. And importantly, our work with these agencies is helping us increase access to underserved populations and to build education and outreach resources that respond to their particular needs. For example, the recently enacted, cool, we'll do this in the dark. When I was younger, I could have seen even now. Well, wait a minute. I could start singing, but that would be... No PTO director sings. All right, well, I'll continue. Good enough. Okay, so, for example, recently enacted Success Act, which stands for Study of Underrepresented Classes Chasing Engineering and Sciences Success. Congress just passed, and the President just signed. Probably can't do that. Well, if we could turn that one off. Okay, great. Thank you. So the Success Act requires the USPTO, in consultation with the SBA, to conduct a study that identifies publicly available data and literature on the numbers of patents applied for and obtained by women, minorities, and veterans, and on the benefits of increasing patenting activities among these groups. Similarly, the Small Business Innovation Protection Act that was signed into law last month by President Trump directs the USPTO and the SBA to enter into a partnership agreement to develop high-quality training for small business concerns related to domestic and international protection of IP and how such protections should be considered in small business plans and growth strategies, and to leverage existing training materials already developed to educate inventors and small businesses. In today's highly competitive global economy, we need all hands on deck to innovate and to compete nationally and internationally. This is why it's so important that we provide an environment in which all Americans who are willing to work hard, persevere, and take risks have the opportunity to innovate, start new companies, succeed in established companies, and ultimately achieve the American dream. And this is also why our work with the SBA and events like today's conference are so critically important to the small business community, and as a result, to America's competitiveness and prosperity. This administration is committed to promoting American innovation and entrepreneurship and to protecting American IP, as symbolized by President Trump's signature this past summer on patent number 10 million. Yes, just this summer, we issued patent 10 million, which is counted since the founding of the Republic. And this was only the second time that the president signed a patent since John Quincy Adams. And it illustrates the importance of American intellectual property in today's economy and the Trump administration's commitment to it. Indeed, during his first address to Congress in February of 2017, President Trump noted that on our 100th anniversary in 1876, citizens from throughout the country came to Philadelphia to celebrate America's centennial. At that celebration, the country's inventors showed off their wonderful creations. Alexander Graham Bell presented his telephone for the first time. Remington revealed the first typewriter. And Thomas Edison showed an automatic telegraph and an electric pen. President Trump then asked all of us to imagine the wonders our country could know in America's 250th year. He asked us to think about all the illnesses that could be cured, the distant worlds we could walk on, and the marvels we could achieve if only we could set free the dreams of Americans. That's how I think about innovation and intellectual property. As I see it, no dream is too big if we unleash the power of innovation and give our nation's inventors and entrepreneurs the incentives and protections they need to succeed. Back to our inventor of roll film from Hunter, North Dakota. 6 decades after David Houston sold his patent to Eastman and thereby enabled the tremendous growth of the Kodak company, Edwin Land, another prolific inventor and co-founder of Polaroid, started selling instant cameras that eventually gave Kodak a real run for its money. By the time he died in 1991, Land had 535 patents to his name. At that time, number 3 on the list of US inventors, behind only Thomas Edison and one of Edison's associates. Faced with severe competition, Land famously noted that the only thing keeping us alive is our brilliance, and the only thing protecting our brilliance is our patents. And he was right. For we have a remarkable patent system, born from our Constitution and steeped in our history. It is a crown jewel, a gold standard, and inventors and entrepreneurs are at the heart of it, making it all possible. As director of the USPTO, my top priorities include making sure that our patent system remains strong and effective, that our inventors and entrepreneurs thrive, and that the United States remains the market of choice when it comes to innovation. So I want to thank you, inventors and entrepreneurs of North Dakota, for everything that you do to continue America's technological leadership. And I want to thank again Senator Hoeven for the invitation to participate in this wonderful event. Thank you all. Okay, and now, before you get up, Eric, I want to take a minute to recognize a real-life inventor who happens to be here, who just received a real-life patent. And it is a patent for an invention that is directed toward using sucrose fatty acid as a component of a resin, i.e. a plastic. It's a biorenewable material, environmentally friendly, and versatile way of making plastic. The patent for this invention goes to Dr. Dean Webster, professor and department chair at the Department of Coatings and Polymeric Materials at the North Dakota State University. While I'm talking, Dr. Webster, please come up. He also holds 25 patents, 19 of which are affiliated with NDSU. Prior to coming to NDSU, Dr. Webster worked in industry for over 17 years. He has a bachelor's degree in chemistry and a PhD in materials engineering science, both from North Virginia. And joining me to present the latest patent he received is Molly Koshalski, USPTO Regional Director for the Rocky Mountain region, which includes North Dakota. Congratulations, Dr. Webster, and keep inventing.
Thank you. Congratulations to Dr. Webster, and thank you to Director Yanku. Apologies for the lights. I think that was part of my dance routine that got axed at the last minute, so I appreciate you storming through. Well, next up, we have a really exciting surprise guest. Senator Heidi Heitkamp was able to join us last minute. Senator Heitkamp sits on the Senate Agricultural Committee and Committee of Indian Affairs, and she also serves on the Banking, Small Business and Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs Committees. Let's give a warm welcome to Senator Heitkamp.
Thank all of you, and thank you for letting me come. Man, it's bright up here. No wonder they turned off the lights. You know, I was thinking about, this is probably one of the last opportunities I'll have to talk to a lot of you as your United States Senator, and I was thinking about what's the message and what is the critical nature of what we're trying to do in technology in North Dakota. And I like to kind of bring this to a spot in dialogue where you can really kind of think about the historic context that technology plays in our economy, the historic context that it plays in the opportunities that we present, especially for young people. And I think it's amazing that the Chamber of Commerce has been able to pull together such a great program, and I thank Senator Hoeven for letting me be part of it. But when I think about technology, I think about, everybody thinks, well, it's this new bright shiny object, and we're going to grab at whatever seems to be kind of the cool thing of the day, and that's our nature as human beings to look to the innovation and to think about it. But it really is a business. It really is about commerce. And so I like to do comparisons on technology with over-the-road trucking. And why do I do that? Because when you think about each component that allows you to move goods and commerce in interstate commerce, it really is comparable in technology. And so what do I mean by that? You think about the interstate highway system. What is that? Well, that's the backbone. That is, in fact, the internet, the opportunity to communicate in rapid ways. So what are the challenges that we have right now with that infrastructure, which is the internet, interstate highway? Obviously, we know we have huge complex problems with improving our overall infrastructure. But when you look at the internet, we're experiencing some important public policy discussions, one of which is net neutrality. When you think about net neutrality, you think about kind of a traffic jam and who gets to go first and who gets to pay to go first, and what does this public access mean in terms of that overall infrastructure. But significantly, I've seen some kind of next generation internet systems that won't look like it looks today. And I have nothing but incredible respect for what North Dakota's been able to do in broadband. It's something I brag about on a regular basis. But I also have been to SpaceX. And if you've ever been to SpaceX, and you know that's the Elon Musk spin-off company that does a lot of the launches for satellites. They're launching satellites, or preparing to launch satellites that look like PEDS dispensers. And what they're going to do is they're going to create a network of telecommunications. So if you think, well, it's not possible that fiber would ever go out of fashion, I want you to look around your house and look at your telephone jacks that are already embedded into your household systems. And you think, what is that next generation and what does that mean? What it means is that we're going to have an open access to this internet, to this network of systems that is going to be global. And it is going to, for places like Africa, they're going to skip a generation. What does that mean for North Dakota, and what does it mean for this country? It means that we are going to open up markets that we haven't had before. We're going to open up opportunities. And then you think about the devices that we use. You know, we started out using computers. I'm so old, I remember when we had dumb terminals, which connected to a mainframe computer, which I think it's interesting now with the cloud, we're kind of going back to that, right? We don't have that computing power that's in the machine that we have in front of us. It is connected to this, and not a server, but connected to the cloud in ways that are fascinating. But we are adding devices every day to this network. You know, it's not just about the computer in front of you, it's about the refrigerator. It's about the light bulb that will come on and off. It's about your security system in your home. And as we add more and more of these devices, we create more and more congestion, and we create more and more points of entry for security breaches. And we have not yet addressed that concern. And if you're a fan, like I am, of the HBO series Silicon Valley, you might recall how one of the geniuses on that show was able to connect new refrigerators to create a whole mainframe, to create a whole network. And you know, I know it's fiction, but it certainly makes us think about how these devices will interact with each other and how they will create a subnet, or how they will create an additional concern about this congestion. And then we have to have a purpose. I think that sometimes, and probably the best example of that is what we're doing with drones. You know, we think about how cool it is to invent them, how cool it is to put them in the air, how cool it is to fly around and take a look. But if there's no real commercial purpose, it's really cool to have them. But why do we have them? Is it for pest detection in crops? Is it because we are doing law enforcement security kinds of systems to look at patterns, which has been pretty fascinating? The state of Maryland has done some really creative work coming out of some of the drone initiatives. But we have to have purpose in what we create. And I think that sometimes we get all excited about the device, we get all excited about the communication capabilities, and we don't think about what in fact is that commercial purpose. And I think there is an area where we need to do more critical thinking in terms of what lane North Dakota can be in as it relates to advancing this kind of technology and advancing what in fact our purpose is. Most of the startups and most of the innovation that I've seen is really surrounding our core industries, whether it's in energy or whether it is in agriculture, and that's a great synergy, but can we go beyond those core industries? Finally, you think about the crossroad trucker. One of the things that we know we have to do is we have to keep that internet, or that interstate highway system safe. We go, 75, 80 miles an hour, and we pass each other within feet of each other, and we do this every day in an amazing way without major catastrophe. I mean, when you think about how amazing that is, it's remarkable. The vulnerability right now, the safety vulnerability, is probably one of the most significant national discussions we're having. And what does that look like? Most of you, if you've been following the news, as I do every day, you know that Marriott now has announced a breach. What's Marriott's breach? 500 million customers of their hotel systems have had their information accessed from an outside and probably nefarious source. Think about that. Think about what that means just in terms of consumer confidence, but what does it mean in terms of the actual data, and will that data simply lie in wait, waiting to create problems later on? And so the public is going to continue to demand a safer system. They're going to continue to demand cyber and cybersecurity. We don't do a very good job of that in Washington, D.C. I'm on the Homeland Security Committee. I've been fighting for the 6 years that I've been there to try and innovate a center of gravity in cyber, not just in DOD, not just at the State Department, not just in protecting those critical federal systems, but what should that analysis look like? What should that safety look like? And so safety, warehouses. I mean, obviously, if you're going to engage in cross-road trucking, you need a place to park what you're hauling. Those are our data centers. And, you know, I think there's been a lot of discussion about what does a data center look like. I think that it's not just cloud storage. What we're going to see, again, is that the success will depend on your ability to fragment that data, to provide additional services that will allow people to access and to mine that data in ways that we haven't had before. And so I think when we look at warehouses, it's not just storage, it's more like an Amazon warehouse that's very sophisticated in terms of tranches and allocating spaces. Probably the single most important piece of this that doesn't get talked about enough, in my opinion, is workforce. We need truckers. We don't have enough truckers actually in America today. Some of that is driving the automation that you see in driverless cars, driverless trucks. But we have to have a workforce in North Dakota that's prepared for this transition that we're going to have to embedded technology in everything that we do. What does that mean? You know, when I was in high school, everybody took typing, right? We all took typing. You know, I think we have to acknowledge that we have to do a better job developing access and capacity for coding, for training, and it can't just start in your universities. It's got to start very early on, and it's got to be embedded certainly in high schools. And once kids are exposed to this, I give you an example. I was in Hillsborough talking to a group of young men who were taking a coding class generously provided by Microsoft. And it was interesting because the only reason these kids were in this class is because one of their dads made them, and he made all his friends come with him. They were football players. And all of a sudden, this whole world of opportunity was opened up to them. They would never have thought about a career like this in technology had it not been for that exposure in high school, and that's why it's so important that we look for workforce. The last couple points that I want to make, and one is about disruptors. And that's not something, you know, it's kind of my little made-up world when I look at the opportunities that I see in this space and where North Dakota can truly play a role. So what do I mean by that? Let's take a look at what's happening right now with healthcare. You've got huge amounts of consolidation, you know, integration, consolidation. But we have a huge number of disruptors. Probably the most nefarious example of that was Theranos, right? Truly failed. It didn't work. It should have been monitored better. Unfortunately, a lot of damage was done not only to investors, but a lot of damage was done to people who use the product. But the better example there probably are imaging centers. What do I mean by that? Places where they don't take insurance. You just walk in. If you had a sprained ankle that weekend playing softball, you walk in, you get your x-ray taken, maybe cost you $50. They scan it. It's read probably somewhere in Australia by radiologists in Australia, and they give you a printout. And so you look at that and you say, what do I mean by disruptors? That is going to help drive, I think, the competition in healthcare that hopefully will reduce costs as we move forward. But we have an opportunity to be those disruptors in these kinds of industries that we have in North Dakota. And we have to think about who those folks are who are doing the inventions, who is doing the creation, and how do we support them. That's why one of the bills that I introduced was taking a look not at how you fund it after the product's created, but how do you fund that good idea that allows people to spend the kind of time that they have so they're not spending 20 years in their garage after work trying to make this work. And then finally, I have to say, we live in a global world. You guys have heard me say this many, many times. The United States of America is less than 5% of global population. If we're going to be successful, no matter where we are, commercially in North Dakota, we absolutely have to be trading, and we have to look at international standards, and we have to be paying attention to trade. The interesting thing that's happening right now, I think, is on two ends of the spectrum. One is the European model of trying to protect privacy at all costs, the right to be forgotten. The international standards that they're trying to impose on the rest of us in terms of privacy, the kind of work that Google's doing, that Microsoft's doing, that all of our great American companies are doing to try and respond to this I think this angst that the rest of the world has about the loss of privacy and the loss of control over their personal data. And on the other side of that is what's going on in countries like China, beyond what you heard from our federal officials. You know, I don't know if you've been following this, but China has a whole system of social credits. What does that mean? It means that if you behave the way the government wants you to behave, you get enough social credits to actually move up a social rank, get more social benefits, and they're doing this with face recognition. They're doing this with tracking people. And so we cannot be unmindful about the challenges that kind of intrusion on privacy presents. And the concerns that people are going to have as it relates to their privacy. And finally, what I'm going to say is that if you look at articles that have been written, and I believe this, when you look at oil is probably the most precious commodity historically. We're in a cyclical commodities environment right now in terms of pricing. We also are seeing more and more, energy disruptors coming into the market, more and more innovation and development in response probably to climate, but also just cost and who owns the resource. The single most significant data that we are going, or the commodity that we are going to have in the United States of America is data. And we have to approach it in a commodity kind of environment. We have to approach it understanding blockchain, understanding what in fact new data systems are and new data structures are. But North Dakota can play a role in each one of these areas if we think strategically about where's the best fit for the technology that we're developing. And that we don't just follow the bright, shiny object, that we become more strategic in how we approach our analysis, how we approach our strengths and our weaknesses, and how do we take that next step to not only secure a technology future for our base industries, agriculture and energy, but a technology future for North Dakota and emerging industries and emerging opportunities. And so I want to wish you all well. Fargo has been a great center of gravity. I've been amazed by what you do here. I've been amazed by the opportunities that I've had to visit a lot of your startups, to have really critical conversations. I know that North Dakota will continue to work to be on the map as it relates to these technologies, but we have to participate not only in a national discussion about what technology is doing and can do, but we have to participate in a global discussion. And so I want to thank you all for letting me just have a few minutes, and I want to encourage you to continue to stay active. And I want to thank again Senator Hoeven and the Chamber for this wonderful opportunity to just share a few thoughts with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Heitkamp. So great you're able to stop by, and great things to ponder as we think about technology moving forward. Speaking of moving forward, let's move forward to our next presenter. We have Anthony Molzon. Anthony is a friend and a CEO and co-founder at Project Phoenix. It is a Fargo-based software company developing the world's first universal business web service and toolset that every developer will use. All right, give it up for Anthony.
Awesome. Cool. All right. Yeah, so you just took the first 2 minutes of my presentation, so thank you there. First thing, hello, good morning, and apologies. These bright lights are on me now, and it is my fault. I was in the back getting mic'd up, so thank you for covering for me, Eric, but that was on me. I unplugged it, so Media Productions, the onus was not on you. Good morning, Project Phoenix. So we're going to do a couple things today. Okay, the state of technology. We're going to do this in two parts, kind of like a play. First, we're going to discuss what our state is. And what I mean by that, who are we as Project Phoenix? So I like to start with examples. I don't have a lot of words on my slides, you'll notice that. I've got an art degree, so take advantage of it. So like you see in most companies, you'll have, especially building applications, you've got a database, an application programming interface, and of course you have an application. And with that, you'll typically have a database administrator, an API developer, and an application developer. Seems pretty normal. So let's take a look at 3 companies. You have 3 admins, 3 API developers, 3 application developers. But what happens when they start working together? Ugh. Well, they can do the work, but the engineers will not be happy, and you can tell they're not happy because they are red. And of course, you have to introduce product managers, project managers, assistants to the project managers, and I'm sure there's an accountant or 2 in there. Enter Project Phoenix. That's what I think too, yeah. The PXDB core, this is a layer that we've introduced that actually sits on top of databases. It's effectively an introspection tool, a middleware, a blueprinting service, what I've called often a Rosetta Stone. It turns database interactivity into a universal language, but that's not where the magic is. The magic is actually on top of that. The API that we've built, and when I say we, I mean it's that core. It's automatically instantiated. Whenever there's a change in a database, whenever there is a schema, a design change, a new table's added, what have you, that core tells the API to update. This is not REST-based API. This is something called graphical. This is the next generation, and we are utilizing this at the core. So you still have, with those 3 companies, 3 database admins, probably 3 AP application developers. But instead of those managing and maintaining that API, you now can introduce the folks that actually can collaborate between companies. Rather than working on the contracts, you can work on a partnership. So do you want this, which probably feels like this? Yes, the engineers out there, they know. Or do you want this? And to give you a real-world example, because some of you may actually know me by and know our company by something different, AegisFlow. This is what our stack looks like. We have 2 databases, an admin, and an application developer. What is AegisFlow? That is a good question. AegisFlow is a platform for commercial drone pilots, an online marketplace for them to upload, share, stream, and sell their photos, videos, and 3D modeling content. It's a place for you to find them, to contract them to fly. What you're looking at here is the first screenshot that I've shown to the public of our app, which will be releasing next month. This is a profile page of how you can interact and see the data, the information, the great content that drone pilots are doing today. So we go to the second part. What is our state? Not necessarily about us, but it's certainly about our region. And to do so, we'll draw some more pictures. This is a journey. This is the entrepreneur's journey. And this is probably where we are at today. And to kind of give you a little, I don't know, scale, kind of, an oldie but a goodie, little one called Great Plains. I don't know if you're familiar. They're a little bit further down the line. I think they did some accounting stuff back in the day. And of course, you have other companies along this journey. And just like how every journey starts, it's an idea. You rev up the engines, you put a little passion into it. Maybe you actually incorporate. And of course, you idea validate. This is common across all companies. And if you haven't done those, you're just not there yet, and that's okay. So I'm going to talk about a couple of companies here. One you're going to hear, Brandy Ladies, founder. She'll be on stage next. But what she's doing, she's actually empowering kids, just like my 6-year-old daughter, to be interested in STEM. That's a big deal. Great technologies need to be learned at the earliest of stages. But as you age, of course, there's a lot of things. So other groups out there, GoDo, Cindy, the founder of GoDo, she actually created an app that brings events to you that you're actually interested in on your phone. How neat is that? Genesis Feed Technologies and Peter, he does some stuff with nutrient management. He found a massive gap in animal feed and quality assurance. I don't really actually understand it. He's told me about 12, 15 times, but that's the best I can do. Sorry, Peter. Connect Labs. If you guys have met Brian, you'll know that he's really dedicated to technology in so many ways. Fully immersive, full screen televisions that you can interact with in new ways that you've never thought before. These are just some of the things that are happening right here in this region. What about a company that can track real-time assets, people, medical equipment, or being able to take out of the hands of the field service agents the boring grunt work of filing papers? How about celebrating every single day? By the way, today is National Computer Security Day, so make sure you update your passwords. It's actually that day today. And then you Code Girl, if you haven't met Betty, well, you have to, because she is doing the next iteration of what Brainy Ladies is already doing, teaching young girls how to actually be the best version of engineers in the next generation to support this economy that we've all talked about this morning. Microsoft Dynamics is kind of a big deal, and Stone Ridge has actually made it easy to implement for virtually any company. Co-schedule. Eric, I think we talked about this morning. You actually make incompetent CEOs like myself marketing geniuses, so thank you. In Myriad Mobile, what they're doing with Bushel, they have made one of the most significant changes by digitizing contracts at elevators. It's one of the biggest things since ever in agriculture. Appario, general aviation, agriculture, craft beer. These are some of the great innovations that are happening right in our backyard. In Bank of North Dakota, Heidi, you talked about blockchain. They actually entertained, Bank of North Dakota did, utilizing blockchain technologies to transparently look at wire transfers across the world to see where those routes were, how much it cost, how long it took, and you were able to see that entire process. Imagine you actually knew where your money was going and how much it was going to cost. But there's another part, a more important part here that I think we all need to look at. That's what I like to call the torchbearers. These are the people who guide, who light the way. And you know who they are. I have worked with these folks, and there are more. There are many more. And of course, the companies I highlighted today, there are hundreds, thousands of more just in this region. And it is because of those folks who light the way, have done it for our predecessors. We have been able to work with them and connect with them in the unlikeliest of ways, whether it be with contracts and unique business opportunities, with insight and great conversation, actual money on nothing more than a pretty solid idea. That's incredible. That doesn't usually happen. And of course, with Microsoft right here in our backyard, they gave us $120,000 of Azure credits to show that they believe in us, to prove out that technology I just talked about a few minutes ago. Now that's saying something. We haven't proved anything. We have everything to prove, but they're there for us. And because they have shown us this type of mindset, this give first mentality, we can turn around and we can share that with those that come after us, our successors. Because the goal is the same, to get to the end, and we're here together doing this. So I do have a call to action. You have an assignment today. I want you to formalize this roadmap. Somebody out there, there are engineers in here, I'm sure of it, you're probably already scrawling it on a napkin. How do we do what we've talked about all throughout the morning? We've talked about what we can do, the future, the things that are happening, all the great ideas that are here. We all know that there's something there. Is there a way to actually build an app, a dashboard, a way to interact and see the state of every single company on its path, on its journey? Imagine for a moment that legislation would be able to see where we are at to know exactly the type of dollars, funding, support systems that we need, as well as us looking at all the other companies out there that could use our help. So my call to action is simple. Find someone out there, figure out a way to put this plan into action, formalize this. And to those out there who have ideas or are in the middle of an idea already, good luck out there. The path is a long one. Cheers.
Nice job. Yep.
Thank you, Anthony. Congratulations on launching your product next month. Very exciting. We're all eager. Hopefully can get updates on your business next year and the years forward. So, all right, I'm not gonna lie. I'm pretty excited about this next guest. We have Zoe Bundy. Zoe is an 8th grader at Discovery Middle School who combined her passion for STEM with her interest in entrepreneurship to create Brainy Ladies while she was in the Chamber's Young Entrepreneurs Academy last year. Zoe has taken her message of encouraging girls to get involved in STEM and the National Yay competition in New York, 1 Million Cups, and the Envision Conference. Outside of being a young entrepreneur, Zoe is involved in the Fargo Police Department's Police Explorers Program, U Code Girl, and a variety of activities at her school and church. Overachiever, just joking. We're proud of you, Zoe. Please welcome our youngest presenter of this year, or probably ever, Zoe Bundy.
Well, good morning. My name is Zoe Bundy, and I'm the CEO and founder of Brainy Ladies. Brainy Ladies is a website, a brand, and a dream. My dream is to inspire young women to follow their dreams in science, technology, engineering, and math, STEM. I'm doing this through public speaking, social media campaigns, and maintaining the Brainy Ladies website at brainyladies.net. On our website, I highlight modern-day Brainy Ladies and heroes from our past who have pushed through the stereotypes and the stigma to make a difference in the world using STEM. I want to invite you on a journey with me. Last year, I had the privilege of participating in the Young Entrepreneurs Academy with the Chamber of Commerce, an entrepreneur class that teaches teenagers how to start and manage their own business. I never imagined that I would win the Shark Tank Investor Panel, and the support from our community has been very overwhelming. Some of the biggest challenges that we face in inspiring young girls in STEM are the stereotypes surrounding STEM. Too many girls think careers in STEM are just for boys, and I want to change that. 6-29-1, 6th grade, 29 boys, and 1 girl. 2 years ago, I was in 6th grade and joined the Tech Leaders group in my school, a group made for kids just like me who wanted to learn more about technology, how we use it, why we use it, stuff like that. There were 29 boys and me, the only girl. It doesn't end there though. 7th grade, 20 boys and 3 girls. Last year I was in 7th grade and joined the Science Olympiad team, a team of 6th through 8th graders promoting science and competition. There were 20 boys and 3 girls, including me. And finally, now I'm in 8th grade and I joined the Lego robotics team. Out of 2 teams, 40 boys and 3 girls. It's not just some statistic somewhere out there. It's happening in my own middle school. During the Young Entrepreneurs Academy, I began to realize that I can make a difference in changing the stereotypes surrounding women and girls in STEM, and Brainy Ladies was born. Through education, speaking, and writing, I hope to inspire young girls to keep believing in themselves and pursue their dreams in these fields where many of the recognized heroes are men. So we've all heard, Houston, we have a problem, right? Did you know that as soon as that problem was called in, the female NASA mathematician and engineer, Katherine Johnson, solved that problem almost immediately? If you didn't know that, you're not alone. 24% of America's STEM careers are filled by women. 14% of America's engineers are women, and 11% of space explorers have been women. Oofta. So why don't we think of it in a new way? Houston, we have a problem, and Katherine Johnson solved it. There is a serious gender gap in STEM careers today, but we're making progress. 2 years ago, 50% of NASA's astronaut class was female. Real quick, think of a few names of women who you know that you could encourage today. Take time to notice the Brainy Ladies. You may be surprised to find that they are all around you. It's all of our jobs to look for the person who doesn't seem to be like everyone else and to do our part to welcome them in. This is why I love finding Brainy Ladies who are making an impact. Last year I started emailing a bunch of these women and they write me back to share their stories. It's so much fun to highlight these heroes for other young girls to look up to. A few of our heroes have been Anusha Ansari, the first Iranian-American female in space, Patricia Bath, the inventor of laser eye surgery, the laser phaco probe, and many others. Did you know that for many of the people my grandma's age and older, they made about half of what a man made doing the exact same job? This summer at TEDx, Governor Burgum shared how his mom earned almost half of what the men in her career were earning. Through tears, he shared how this couldn't be the case in 2018, but it is. The Bureau of Labor Statistics shared in 2017 that women make on average 80% of what their male counterparts make. We need to keep working on closing the gender gap in STEM. And if you find a brainy lady who wants to tell her story, let me know. One of the ways that I like thinking about STEM is through humor. So you have to kind of know your science to know this joke. I have a new theory on inertia, but it doesn't seem to be gaining momentum. So maybe you like to hunt like me. Did you hear about the 3 who went hunting recently? A biologist, a chemist, and a statistician all went hunting. The biologist shoots at the deer and misses 5 feet to the left. The chemist shoots at the same deer and misses 5 feet to the right. The statistician shouts, "We got him!" Want to hear a joke about potassium? Okay. So, humor can also help us see our stereotypes. The next time you hear yourself telling a joke, listen for if your jokes are costing someone something. Too often, our humor and our stereotypes can lead to discouragement, doubt, and fear. Though many will say nerd, geek, or smarty pants and mean it for bad, we can turn these into positives. For example, I've given presentations on superhero geeks, girls who are generous, empowering, encouraging, and kind. Geeks. My last joke. Did you know that parallel lines have so much in common? Too bad they'll never meet. So take time to notice and celebrate the brainy ladies around you. 2 weeks ago, I was with the Emerging Prairie team and overheard this statistic. 65% of elementary school students will be working in jobs that don't even exist yet. That is crazy. The world is changing at a faster pace than ever before. So we all have some young person in our lives. Nieces, nephews, sons, daughters, friends, big brothers, big sisters. Notice and celebrate the brains in all of us. And I'm learning that generosity goes a long way. Greg Tavane, Taya Spellhaug, Sandy Pietz, and especially Katie Ralston, and many more are all giving me a chance to share my dreams and passions with others. They're providing mentoring and leadership in my life by sharing their platforms and encouraging this young brainy lady to keep inspiring others. I loved how Greg and his team had 3 teenagers, all female, share it at the June 1 Million Cups gathering. Did you know that there's a local young lady who is helping design software that will provide new resources to law enforcement so that missing kids are returned to their parents faster? You guys should check out what Sadio is doing. So we can all do our part. For me, I like to help get others connected, and I like to tell stories of successful brainy ladies like Sadio. So like I said, if you know a brainy lady whose story needs to be told, find me online or later today to connect. So if you'd like to, we also have an email newsletter you can sign up for on our website, and we tell these stories. So if there's anything that I want you to remember from this presentation, it's 3 things. 1, let's change that stereotype. 2, let's notice and celebrate the brainy ladies in our life. And 3, in the end, we will inspire the next generation of girls who are considering a career in STEM. Thank you.
Well, sorry, senators, sorry, Governor. I think Zoe just stole the show here. Fantastic job. Zoe, thanks so much for your courage to be on the stage and to do what you do. We really appreciate. We'll definitely do our job. I know we will do our job to change those stereotypes and to support young women like yourselves in technology. So thank you so much. Great presentation. Our next presenter, good luck, Chris Clark, is the president of Excel Energy in Minnesota, South Dakota, and North Dakota. Chris is leading the company's Upper Midwest visionary energy transition and delivering on customers' energy goals, all while ensuring clean and reliable energy at prices below the national average. He's responsible for the strategic plan and financial results of the company, as well as customer, community, regulatory, legislative, and governmental relationships in all 3 states. Clark has more than 20 years of experience in energy and regulation. He is a graduate of the University of Iowa and Drake Law School. Please, please, please welcome Chris Clark. Thank you, Chris. You bet.
Well, so we prepped for this, and they never told me what an act I got to follow. So, Zoe, that was incredible. I'd like to thank Senator Hoeven and the Chamber for the opportunity to be here. It's so great to be in North Dakota and talking about the state of technology. You might wonder what our role is. What we wanted to do today was just highlight a few things that we have in our business, showing where the innovation and the technology that you are all working on lands in the business world in the energy sector and takes advantage of this great resource that we have in our backyard here in North Dakota, and is really setting up incredible opportunities. The thing I like and appreciate about the leadership here from Senator Hoeven and from Senator Heitkamp is not only the willingness for them to give the time, but their commitment to the infrastructure that we're building that's really the foundation of what we do with this technology. So in North Dakota, we're taking advantage of the great wind resource to expand our wind footprint. And there you go with Senator Hoeven and a local North Dakota company who helped us build one of our wind farms. You might not think about it, it seems like a basic technology, put the wind turbine up and we generate electricity from it. But there's incredible technology and innovation happening in the blade technology, in the geometry, and then also in how we maintain and operate those units. We use incredible data crunching and algorithms and weather prediction, so we can actually predict the wind pretty well a day ahead. And that helps us as we figure out how the wind's going to relate with our coal units, our gas units, and our other units on our system, and lets us use that productively and most efficiently. We're also using remotely piloted or drones aircraft to go inspect the wind turbines and to keep track of our assets in the field. We can send a drone to do a blade inspection, which is a lot easier than climbing to the top of the tower and rappelling down the blade. Although it sounds like a lot of fun, I'm not sure I'm brave enough to do it. We're also using remotely piloted aircraft drones to inspect transmission lines, and we've had great cooperation and partnerships in North Dakota. You can really see the practical uses of these remotely piloted aircraft. Obviously, agriculture has been a key area for them, but we're finding great uses for beyond the line of sight, use of drones for inspecting transmission lines, and again, putting those pieces of equipment in places where we can do a lot faster, we can take advantage of the data, and then we can be very focused in where we send our crews in. We also use it to enhance safety, so it's been a great fit for us, and we've had great collaboration not only with local businesses here in North Dakota, but support from the Chamber and others as we really work to develop this whole infrastructure to support technology in North Dakota, and of course with our universities. So we are very appreciative of that collaboration. In our business, we're really making a transformation of the way we provide energy for our customers, and what we're proud of is that we're able to significantly decrease the emissions that we're putting out from our system, but we're able to do that transition affordably and in the right way for our communities. So you can see we're going to take advantage of this great renewable energy resource here in North Dakota and across our footprint. By 2030, we expect to have 60% renewables, so expect more wind farms and probably even some solar farms here in North Dakota. And we expect that that will help us get to 85% carbon-free energy while keeping the cost of that transformation below the rate of inflation. So it's very important that we do this cost effectively. And you can see here, not only is it renewables, but it's a commitment to our nuclear units as part of this. And in our nuclear area, it's also a place where we've seen incredible innovation. So you can see the blue glow there. It actually does glow blue. And we have nuclear fuels engineers who did nation-leading work to reform the way our fuel interacts in the reactive cycle using some different coatings. Working with Westinghouse, that will now move across the industry. It extends our fuel cycle at those units and saves us millions of dollars. Again, keeping those costs low is important. This is part of our commitment to innovation and embracing North Dakota's leadership in all of the above energy strategy. Nuclear is a key part of achieving what we can do on our system. We think there are also incredible opportunities for innovation, not only in nuclear, with small modular reactors and other technologies that are developing. We'll continue to see technology development in wind and solar, but we'll also see things like carbon sequestration be aggressively pursued, and of course, North Dakota is a leader in that as well. And of course, as part of that, we do have some nuclear fuel, so if anybody would like to host that, we'd be happy to move that. But this really underscores the policy leadership that great leaders like Senator Hoeven have provided for us. That support for an all-above energy strategy really relies on interacting with our leaders. This fuel belongs in Yucca Mountain, and we're open to using an interim storage solution in the meantime. And of course, these are very heavy, so there will be all sorts of transportation innovation that will occur. So those of you who like the STEM, we have opportunities left and right for you. And of course, as we modernize our grid, there are incredible opportunities to use materials science, to use data, and to really embrace new technologies that help provide us more information about our systems. So the ideas that you're having, the data that you move, the data that you analyze, the ideas that go into the patents, land in places like our transmission and distribution systems and really help us think about the future. And we're also seeing incredible opportunities as we move clean energy, not just from the electric system, but into the transportation system. Battery technologies will find a place on the grid, but they'll also find a place in our cars, and we'll see all sorts of electronics and data transfer sensors on our distribution system that's going to help us use that system much more efficiently and effectively. So I appreciate the opportunity to be here today. I really appreciate the humor that Zoe shared with us. The inertia joke was not lost on the energy folks in the audience. I know there are several of us from multiple companies here. It's a great way to do it. I hadn't thought about how do we explain inertia? Well, let's use humor. So Zoe, thank you. You're inspiring us. And you're also inspiring us to remind folks that we have incredible career opportunities for veterans, for women, for young STEM interested students. So keep us in mind when you're thinking about where your technology and your inventions and your careers land. And so with that, thank you for the opportunity to be here today. I really appreciate it. And keep on learning and keep on inventing. Thank you. Eric?
Well done, Chris. Thank you so much. All right, our next presenter is a keynote. You might know him. I'm excited to introduce our governor, Doug Burgum. Doug Burgum took office as the 33rd governor of North Dakota on December 15th, 2016. He brings a business leader's approach to diversifying the economy, creating 21st century jobs, and revitalizing North Dakota's main streets. Before being elected governor, Doug led Great Plains Software through its public offering in 1997 and acquisition by Microsoft in 2001. Then served as Microsoft's senior vice president until 2007 and continued to invest and hold leadership roles in software companies. In 2008, Burgum co-founded Arthur Ventures, a venture capital firm that invests in ambitious, mission-driven software companies. Now, he also chaired or served on 3 more software companies that had successful IPOs: SuccessFactors, Australia-based Atlassian, and Seattle-based Avalara. The success of those people and businesses guided by Burgum's leadership and inspiration has created billions of dollars of shareholder wealth and thousands of jobs. As governor, he has charted a course for North Dakota rooted in innovation and reinventing government to be more efficient and responsive to taxpayers. Please help me welcome my former CEO at Great Plains and just one heck of a guy, our Governor, Doug Burgum.
Thank you, Eric. You're doing a great job as MC. Good morning, everybody. Is that all we got here today? I'm going to try that one more time. Good morning. Good morning. Great to be here with all of you. I want to start out with gratitude. I want to certainly thank Senator John Hoeven for hosting this conference. It's been a great tradition of his, and I've been honored to be part of it since its inception. Also, I want to thank Senator Heitkamp, who is here this morning, for presenting. I want to thank her not just for being here with us today, but thank her for her years of service to the state, both as Attorney General for 8 years back in the 1990s and serving North Dakota in the U.S. Senate in the last 6 years. But let's give Senator Heitkamp a round of applause. Thank you. Also want to thank our U.S. Patent and Trade Office Director, Andre Iancu, who's here this morning. Very fun of him to share some stories about the Houston family from Hunter, which of course is right next to Arthur. I guess this is the time for sharing stuff that you've never shared before, even with your parents. But mine have both passed away, so maybe it's okay now. But when some other kids and I, before the house moved to Bonanzaville, the Houston house was on a farm between Arthur and Hunter, and there was always rumors that it had ghosts. It had a hidden room, which was sort of the dark room that he had in the middle of the house. And so some other kids and I broke in there once when it was abandoned. But we found the dark room. We didn't see any ghosts, but it was very exciting. A lot of running and screaming and all that stuff you do when you're in junior high. And I wouldn't really say broke into because it was an abandoned farmhouse, and I think there was plenty of ways in and out. But it's great that it's been restored, and it's great that it's at Bonanzaville. Looking forward to hearing SB Administrator Linda McMahon. Thank you for being in North Dakota. Look forward to hearing you. Thank you to the Metro Area Chamber for hosting this event. Thanks for all you do. And I also want to give a shout out of gratitude to a family member. I got 2 of my 3 kids are here today, my 2 sons, my nephew James, who's the co-founder of Arthur Ventures. But I wouldn't be where I am today without the support of family, and I certainly wouldn't be here today without all of those amazing team members at Great Plains. A number of them, not just Eric, are in the room today, have gone on to do great things. But I always get a little anxious, like when Andre's telling the history of Great Plains, because there were so many people there, from the original founders to all the team members that made that thing possible. And but I do want to share one thing as it relates to the people that put this together. I'm also grateful that I got a chance to follow Chris and not Zoe on the agenda. But on the importance of Zoe's talk, very important what she was talking about. And of course, I've always loved good math jokes, so thank you for that, Zoe. But at the time that we were acquired by Microsoft in 2001, we had 2,002 team members, and to our knowledge, we were the only company in all of tech at that time that had 51% females in our employment, and it was something that we worked at very hard, and certainly credit my mother, who served on our board for a bunch of years and helping me on understanding that, starting all the way back to when I was in high school, and my dad passed away when I was a freshman in high school. My mom went back into the workforce, so I got educated really early about some of the challenges about women in the workforce, and it's still something we have to work on today. But a lot of gratitude for all those experiences and for everybody that's here, and so excited to have an opportunity to share it with you. But before I jump into that, I mean, my biggest point of gratitude this morning is on behalf of Lieutenant Governor Brent Sanford and First Lady Catherine Helgus Burgum and myself, we're just honored to be able to serve all of you, because I'm telling you, this job, the jobs that we get to do every day are fantastic. We get a chance to make a difference in people's lives, and we appreciate your trust and confidence in us. And believe me, we got a team that's working very hard to make that happen. Well, we're here to talk tech today, and those of you that have heard me speak over the years know that I didn't have to remake this slide. This is a slide that was we created probably 5 years ago or more, 6 years ago. But there is a number of forces that were emerging then that continue to drive forward today that are having an impact on, and these underlie every speaker that you've heard today, from the largest utility to the smallest startup. These trends are driving stuff, and one of these, of course, is incredibly cheap storage. I like to tell the story when we started with Great Plains back in the early 1980s. We were very excited about the hard drive that came out. It had 5 megabytes of storage, and this was going to allow us to do things that were previously impossible to do on a floppy-based system because we had so much storage that we could work with, those 5 megabytes. And that profile hard drive from Apple cost $5,000. It was $1,000 a megabyte. Okay, so a gigabyte would be $1 million. And so by the time you know, our daughter Jessie was in junior high, and I had the shopping list of pens, pencils, you know, whatever, jump drive, and I'm looking at the thing, and I'm supposed to buy, along with the shopping list, you know, an 8 gigabyte jump drive, and you know, which is I'm going, we're buying $8 million of storage for a kid in 7th grade. So it's a, you know, but it turned out it was like $6.99, and most of the cost was because we were trying to decide between we got the one that looked like a strawberry or a frog or, you know, whatever. But the storage is so cheap, it's basically free. And so this is how we've come up with business models. I mean, YouTube wouldn't even have been conceived as a business model because YouTube has got a business model that basically says, we will host all of yours and everybody else in the world. We'll host all of your videos for free. We'll host all of your videos for free. That business model doesn't exist. There's not like, oh, you want to post this video? What are we going to charge you? It's free to post your videos. Videos take up a huge amount of data, and it's free because we have free storage. So in any business that you're in, whether you're in healthcare, you know, education, government, agriculture, energy, you pick it. You've got to have a mindset that storage is free. It's so cheap, it's free. And what would you do with that? And then, of course, Seth was up this morning talking about gigabit internet. This is something our state's been talking about for a long time. It's been talked about here at Senator Hoeven's conference, and we're making progress like no other state, and we got to just keep pouring the gas on this one because this is going to make a difference for every citizen in our state. And then part of that is ubiquitous automatic sensors, which again, you know, when I used those words many years ago, that was before you know, it had the Apple Watch, before you had, you know, might have had Fitbits, or you might have had your phone itself is a ubiquitous automatic sensor because it can tell you your location. We got to quit calling them phones or even smartphones. I mean, basically, you've all got a supercomputer in your pocket with hundreds of applications and hundreds of capabilities, and it's a platform because things like Uber wouldn't work unless Uber knows your location. So you're broadcasting your location, and that allows you and the driver to connect, and so you can come up with collaborative consumption around things like transportation, which changes the way we build our entire cities. I mean, it's one of the drivers behind our Main Street initiative is an understanding that technology is going to change the way we build cities, and we can build cities that are much more cost effective, which will lower property taxes, which will improve people's health. But technology is an underlying driver, and that pervasive mobility and the digital imagery that comes with that, because, you know, a picture does tell 1,000 words, and our ability to move, you know, data and images is really something. But what all this does is it drives, you know, creates not just big data. I've changed it to humongous data a few years ago on the slide because big understates it. We're just talking about enormous amounts of data. And all of that needs to be wrapped up around the magic of software to make the whole thing work. But then software itself keeps getting smarter and smarter. And with machine learning, software can actually improve itself. With artificial intelligence, it can actually get better. And so then we've actually got, you know, code that can help write code, and will in the process will continue to accelerate. But these trends, I'm going to stop my talk right now because this is basically world changing right here. But we'll just talk about some examples of some amplifiers and why it affects all of us and why it affects North Dakota. The capital, which is behind this, is just enormous. We've got, in terms of the top 5 R&D investors, $76 billion being spent annually being spent. This is R&D. This is not revenue. This is not sales of these companies. This is not their market cap. This is the dollars cash that they put back into hiring people to do research, to do applied research, to do original research to try to drive this thing forward. That's why when you might run into somebody and say, hey, we're not going to have autonomous road vehicles anytime soon. That's like some Jetsons future. Well, if they say that, you might want to ask them, well, do you know how many people are working on that problem right now? And if they don't know the answer to that, then just get your curiosity going, try to understand it, because there are so many people working on that problem right now and so much money going into it. I mean, there's one company alone that's driving autonomous vehicles are driving 25,000 miles a day in urban cities. 25,000 miles a day in a city. That's more than any of you would drive in a year. That's how many cumulative, that's one company is doing that. So multiply that times 365 days a year. And if you say, I think I'm a pretty good driver, well, it's an interesting thing. Yeah, you're a pretty good driver. Will you have the cumulative experience of having driven 100 million miles? I mean, in your life, you'll never do that. And so they're building, with autonomous vehicles, the software, they're building better drivers than humans. And they're on the path to do that. And we just have to accept that we're going to be living in an age where there are things where computers and technology is better than us. I mean, the autonomous vehicle thing is one thing that's very clear, because we had one death. One pedestrian was killed, walking, not at a crosswalk, in the dark, crossing a road, and wearing dark clothing, and got hit by an autonomous vehicle, and then was like, okay, we got to stop. These things are never going to work. There's close to 40,000 traffic deaths a year in the U.S., and over 50% of those are because of people that have got impaired driving from some substance abuse. A number of those people that are killed in those traffic deaths are pedestrians or bicyclists on top of this thing. And so, autonomous vehicles don't have to be perfect. They just got to kill less than 40,000 people a year, because that's how many we've been killing. That's how many we've been killing for the last 20 years. So we're... and they will be better. They will be better. I mean, they will be better. That number will come down. It's atrocious. Then to get to 40,000, you have to kill on our highways every day more people than would fill a 737. If you got up every day and there was a crash and you said, wow, there's another plane that went down and every person got killed. If you got up every day and said, the town of Arthur, my hometown, 350 people got wiped out every day, would you get in an airplane? I don't think so, but you're all going to get in here and get in your cars and drive away and probably be texting while you're driving, while you're away from here. But anyway, there's a lot of dollars being spent on some very big problems by the consumer companies. And then on top of that, those are the big five. On the entrepreneurial edge, there's $84 billion of venture capital that went into startups last year that built on top of all these trends that we talked about across all these industries. And so the rate of change is just impossible for people to really understand, because the future will change faster than the past, and humans tend to extrapolate our thinking based on our own personal experiences of what we've seen in the past, and then we don't anticipate the curve. So we're going into a spot where things are going to change faster than we anticipated. And one of those big drivers is automatically collected data changes everything, because when we think about collecting data, or if someone says, hey, we should get some data on that, if you're my age, when you think get some data on that, you're probably thinking someone's going to grab a clipboard and sit and observe some things. But what we're really talking about is the ability to collect data automatically through all kinds of these pervasive sensors, and to be able to do that. And when you collect data automatically using underlying digital technology, the data collection cost is very low and the quality of the data becomes very high. And when you do it with humans, the cost is very high and the quality is very low. And nothing is more apparent to me than this in healthcare, where we had about 10 years ago, we mandated at the federal level that all healthcare organizations needed to invest in electronic health records. which was a 1980s technology, not mobile, not cloud, not built on new database. It was a direct subsidy to a small set of companies that had positions in that field, who had political connections. All the money goes piling into that particular form of technology. That regulation forced the industry, the healthcare industry, to spend almost $1 trillion of IT dollars. $1 trillion of IT over the next 10 years went into electronic healthcare records. That's $1 trillion that was not directed by the market, was not directed towards the new and innovative things, was not directed towards startups. It was directed towards electronic healthcare records. And all of you, whether it was yourself or with you with an aging parent or with you with a sick kid, you got a chance to go to the doctor and sit in an office and look at the back of your physician or your nurse as they put their hands on a keyboard. And we tried to take the thing that we're most scarce of in our country, doctors and nurses, and turn them into data entry specialists. After they've gone to 15 years of school to get their degrees, if you're a doctor, you know, or even if you're a nurse and you've gone through, we have a huge nursing shortage, and we're trying to turn them into data entry specialists. So it is we have got to make sure that we understand when we do regulation at any level, the federal level, the state level, or at some industry level, if we do that, when we're doing that, we're not only raising costs, we're also misallocating capital, and we never really truly understand all the unintended lost opportunity costs when we misallocate that kind of capital. And the real tragedy is $1 trillion of IT is not a bad thing. $1 trillion of IT, you know, because it seems like a big number, but you know, let's understand we have a $17 trillion economy. Over $4 trillion of that goes into healthcare. You divide that by 10 years, $400 billion a year going into IT. It was sort of 10% of healthcare costs, so it wasn't really necessarily out of line. It was just that we spent $1 trillion over that time frame, and then guess what happens? Productivity went down. Doctors saw fewer people. Nurses saw fewer people. So we end up with a situation where this is the only time in history where an industry has consumed that much IT and then productivity went down. And when productivity goes down, costs go up, and then we end up having a political debate about insurance that only affects a small portion of the population, healthcare insurance. That becomes a raging political debate, as opposed to us having a real discussion about why did the costs go up? The costs went up because we had regulation that enforced an activity which lowered productivity. So let's try to, we want to say, let's get the data in the room and get the ideology out of the room and work together to solve problems. But this technology disruption, is affecting everything. I've gone a little bit deeper on healthcare, but it's affecting ag, energy, education, government. The business models are all changing. Higher education is being disrupted so rapidly right now because as we sit here today, and I would tell you, how many people in North Dakota are taking an online course today from a university outside of North Dakota? We don't know that. I can tell you that 30 years ago, that wasn't a possibility. 30 years ago, education was in some ways a regional activity that served people in their region with captive customers with monopoly, with sort of monopoly type offerings. That monopoly status for higher education is gone, and competition is rampant, and we've got people from other states that are serving our citizens here, and we don't even know that. We have no idea how many people are taking that. We do know because the First Lady was who's from Jamestown, but is an Arizona State graduate. Arizona State has been named the #1 most innovative university in the country. They've passed Stanford and MIT and others, doing some amazing things at ASU. And she's down there, and they got a digital high school that they're offering to learn more about education. So kids can take digital high school classes from all over the country, from Arizona State. And she learned, because they said, hey, they're right here. We got kids in North Dakota that are going to high school at Arizona State. So the competition is not just at the higher ed level, it's going to creep into K through 12, where we've really had a monopoly lock on providing local education. And when you've got competition, that forces you have to do things differently. So technology is disrupting everything in a big way. In Atlassian, where I had the honor to be chairman, Atlassian developed tools to help people write better software faster. And Atlassian understood one thing. The two young co-founders who founded it right out of college, coming out of college in Australia, was that every company, regardless of what industry you're in, every one of your organizations, you have to think about how you're going to become a software company or you're going to be disrupted by one. You have to think about how you become a software company or you're going to be disrupted by one. Now you might go, well, that doesn't make any sense. Well, we just started talking about the automobile industry. The automobile industry doesn't think of themselves as a software company. Guess who's disrupting the auto industry? You know, it's all of the work that's being done on software around driverless autonomous vehicles. That's what's disrupting the entire industry. And to that degree, a car just becomes a supercomputer on wheels. And we certainly know that from agriculture. I saw, Barry Batchelor was here. The work that he's done prior, which became, Phoenix, which became John Deere here. His whole team and his family, they understand about precision agriculture, and that basically a tractor or a combine is become a software computer on that's moving across a field. And so everything, UAS, there's the software that's embedded, everything is in there. So healthcare, we had these great presenters talking this morning about how technology is disrupting their business. We need to understand that every aspect of what we do is being disrupted by technology. It's not about we're going to do what we do and then we're going to argue over having a 2 or 3 or 4% IT budget on the side. We think that's too high, maybe we should take a big vendor. I mean, that's the old discussion. We have to really think about how technology embraces and changes and delivers new models for everything that we do. In our administration, we were trying to really understand. It's always nice when you're trying to drive forward to understand the purpose of what you do, and I like simplicity. We went through a long process internally with our cabinet leaders, bottoms up, getting input from people that have worked in state government for decades. We narrowed it down to 6 words. We said, this is what we do. This is what we come to do every day in the state of North Dakota. We work to empower people, we improve lives, and we inspire success. Because we are at the state level. We're in the healthcare business, we're in the education business, we're in the, keep the roads plowed business, we're in the fish and game business, we're in the health business. I mean, we're in so many different businesses. It turns out in North Dakota, we're also in the banking and the grain elevator business. Go figure. But anyway, we are, it's a beautiful thing. We're in all these businesses. But this is what we come to do. So across the state government, I'm going to offer a few fast examples of things where we're trying to apply technology to the business we do every day to get better, smarter, more efficient with your tax dollars, because all of you is what funds what goes on at state government. And one of the things we're working on is smart roads. So the only the only test location of this in the nation, working with a UK-based technology company, we've got buried fiber optic running along I-29 out here, and this thing has got acoustic sensing capability that can tell the difference between a pedestrian, a motorcycle, a pickup truck, a large truck. It can tell the speeds that people are going. And so we can do super sophisticated monitoring of what's going on through this corridor, and then that could lead to all kinds of decisions about safety, about road snow plowing, whatever. But this is an example of where we're working in conjunction with this company's R&D team to do a pilot to try to figure out if we were smarter about what's actually happening on the road, can we do things to improve the safety and the quality and the experience of what people are doing when they're driving on it. So we picked one of the busiest stretches in the state, and we're going to work on that. Bridges, we always talk about bridges wearing out. You can walk on a bridge, you can take a look at it, you can see if there's rust, but you can also do infrared inspections that can get into understand what's going on, inside the actual physical structure of the bridge, and so trying to bring new technology to make decisions around that. Simple things, one of the places where customers are always frustrated with government is, you can't say, because if you're going to get a driver's license in North Dakota, guess what? It's a monopoly. You got one place you can go, and we have to make sure that when we have these monopoly positions, as a state government, that we don't abuse that monopoly power against with our customers. That we have to make sure that we're in service mode. So we want to think about how do we do that better. Well, one of the ways to do this without adding additional physical buildings that we have to rent and maintain and have custodial services or state employees because we've got a workforce shortage. It's tough to get workforce to work for any organization, state government. One of the ways that you do that is you make sure that whatever, if you've got a kiosk, that can be open 24 hours a day. It can be in many locations. So we're testing these things, and they've been off to a good start. We had 31,000 motor vehicle registrations that went through the initial pilot kiosk stuff. Snowplow is a track plow. You might think, what's complicated about plowing roads? What's complicated about that? North Dakota plows 17,250 miles of roads That's the piece that's the state portion. County does more, cities do more. The state portion, 17,250. We do that with about 357 drivers. The drivers have to have CDL license. We got competition for CDL drivers, from the oil patch. And guess what? The sophistication of driving one of these, the one that's pictured here, is not just a snow plow, it's also got a tow plow. So it's got a second thing that goes on the back, and like precision agriculture, you sit in one of these things, and it looks like a spaceship with a control booth, or it looks like a modern combine or tractor. A lot of controls. It can be super precise in terms of how it's distributing sand or whatever might be coming out of the back. If there's some other solution that's an ice melting solution, it can do that. But guess what? These things can drive faster with more precision. You can do 2 lanes versus 1, but they're so big they don't fit in the old garages that got built pre-1960s. We used to have 135 sheds, they called them, which is where you'd put an old snowplow in. And well, now those don't work. And those have been reduced down to about 65 locations. And like UPS, everybody's probably heard the stories that UPS does optimization models for all of their drivers to make sure that they can, because if UPS can figure out how to only make right turns versus left turns, you can ship packages for less money because they'll save fuel, they'll save time, they'll save efficiency. They need less drivers to do that. So there's all kinds of optimization models. So the first time ever, North Dakota's got an in-depth optimization model of all of the routes, of all we're doing. And we've got service levels where we say, hey, if we're going to plow all the 2-lane roads in rural areas within 3 hours, where would people have to be located, and what's the cycle time for them to come back to get there in 3 hours? What would a route look like? So enormous improvements that are being made, so all of that's going on. Sophisticated technology being applied, but of course you do have people that say, hey, don't close the shed in my town. This thing doesn't even fit in it. So, we have to keep looking forward and keep driving forward. And the other thing is for service levels which is shown here on this North Dakota road, is available as an app. I would guess that many of you have got 100 apps on your phone and very few from the state of North Dakota. We're trying to drive to get more customer-facing apps, more citizen-facing apps. One of the ones that's out is there is a road condition app that you can download on your phone for this winter. I would encourage you to think about doing that. And then on that, we've got a new overlay on it called Track-A-Plow. So we got GPS on the plows. So if you're thinking about is this road what condition it is, you can actually see the plow moving down the road. The plow's moving all over the state, and go, okay, I'm going to go this route or that route because I'm going to be behind a snow plow if I want to do that. So again, it's automatically collected data, transparent, getting it out to consumers to help us think about how we can be more safe on our roads. And of course, all of that does tie into, we do have a Vision Zero effort because we would like to get down to 0 traffic deaths in North Dakota. I think that's the appropriate number. People say it's impossible to get there, but somewhere, someplace, there's been a week where we haven't had any. Montana had last winter. Montana went a month without a traffic death in the winter. And this is, you have to kind of build up to it. But the question you have to ask yourself, what would be the right number of people from your family that would die in a traffic death? Would it be something other than 0? There's no other appropriate number other than 0, and we've adopted a zero goal for commercial air transportation. We've only had 1 death in all the commercial flights in the United States in the last 9 years. So we've done it in a very complicated thing called, in our airspace, we think we should be able to do it here. Autonomous vehicles, I talked about that earlier, but last year at the NDDOT conference at the Transportation Expo, we actually had in Bismarck an autonomous bus. People lined up, and for the multiple days the conference got in there, the bus drove them up and down, and people got to drive in a bus that did not have a driver, and that was exciting for people. Precision agriculture, talked about this, but this is one of the things that, when Seth was talking this morning about the Dakota Carrier Network and the ubiquitous stuff, is we don't have to just reach every school in every small town. We got to reach every tractor, every combine. I'd like to reach every rancher on a horse with his smartphone. And so having this complete interconnectedness allows us to take advantage of all the computing power that's coming in there. I had a chance this fall when I was out pheasant hunting in Emmons County to jump in one of the new John Deere combines. And as you're going through the cornfield, there's so much information that's coming up, including real-time yield data. Real-time yield data is being calculated automatically as you're going across the field, and that all can be computed back into maps that can adjust, how much fertilizer and other inputs might go in next year based on the map that's generated from the yield data. So it's fantastic. We can do even more, though. There's the private sector's charging ahead. I'm so grateful to be in a community with so many incredible entrepreneurs. But we've got 3 organizations here: Aperio, who's doing great work; Myriad Mobile, who's doing great work; and RDO, who we're so fortunate to have one of the premier ag companies in the world headquartered right here in North Dakota. Those guys also teaming up with collaboration with Emerging Prairie. I know Greg Tavine is here, and they've got an idea about an autonomous farm, and the idea that they're kicking around, they're calling this Grand Farm, based off of the idea of Grand Sky, which we'll talk about in a minute in terms of what we're doing with our UAS up at Grand Forks. But this is a very exciting concept. We all need to get behind this thing, federal, state, whatever. This could be a fantastic thing for North Dakota to have the first fully autonomous farm in America. The research dollars, the interest, and everything that would come in here, and this is not. And this is a natural progression. Go back to the 1900s, huge chunk of the U.S. worked in on-farm labor. The amount of productivity gains that have occurred by U.S. farmers during that time, North Dakota farmers in particular. North Dakota farmers are among the best in the world, the most technically advanced and the most productive. I know farmers from my hometown, guys that I went to high school with, that are farming 2 and 3 or 4 times as much acreage as they did when they were working for their dads back in high school, and they're doing it with less people. But in an example like this, where you see that grain cart, that's coming alongside to pull grain off of the combines, there's a driver inside that tractor. Okay, this is one of the first applications. The grain cart needs to be an autonomous vehicle. In today's low chronic unemployment thing, getting somebody to drive that grain cart, you could be talking a $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 a year job for someone to be pulling that grain cart, and farmers in our state can't even find the people to do it. And so this is, again, there's a real need for us where technology is coming in the nick of time to save us from some dramatic labor shortages. Our State Water Commission, again, water's critical to every aspect of what we do: industry, to our health, to our communities, to our wildlife. And one of the things that we're really pushing on, the governor in North Dakota serves as the chairman of the Water Commission, and we need to have more automatically collected data. We know in this community we've been hit by some enormous flooding events. As recently as 2009, when we had the flood in Fargo, half of the CFS that was coming at the Fargo, West Fargo, Moorhead metro area was coming down the wild rice, not down the red. 29,000 CFS, 14,500 coming from each of those 2 river streams. There was only about 4 or 5 river monitoring locations on the wild rice. We need to have more data on the water that's coming in. When the water started going overland, then there was no data other than just eyeballing it or flying up in a helicopter, because we weren't able to track water that was coming overland. So we didn't really even know what we were up against. So one of the things that we've got to do, and they've come up with an interesting name called Presence on this, which is these are low cost, built in house, $300 a unit. Again, this is low cost, high quality data, working with a local manufacturer to build these, to try to figure out a way to have additional data collection. And there's a lot of power and hope about that in terms of us making great decisions when we have better decision. This is about the Airborne Electromagnetic Survey, another thing the State Water Commission is doing. If people may know that, hey, where do we get water for industrial? One of the big aquifers we have is the Spiritwood Aquifer near Jamestown, where there's a lot of industrial activity going on there, whether it's malting plants or ethanol plants, or hopefully a soybean processing plant, electrical generation going on there. You need water for these processes. The old way we would do this: drive a truck, drill a well, drop a charge down, charge goes off, listen to the echoes, and decide, okay, is there water down there, is there rock? That's the way people have, for the last century, tried to figure out the geology of what's going on underneath. This thing flies over the earth at a fraction of the cost, at twice the speed of this thing. We've done 933 square miles of doing this thing at a fraction of the cost of having to drill multiple wells per square mile. And what we discovered that there's a aquifer underneath the Spiritwood Aquifer that may have as much water as the Spiritwood Aquifer, and we did it by flying a helicopter with this hoop skirt electromagnetic survey. So that's exciting. And then the Water Commission also uses small UAS, for bridge, dam, water projects, remote. When we had the drought last year, the disaster livestock program, this is an opportunity to do, surveying activity. Again, faster, more efficient, higher quality applications there. In the healthcare space, a ton of stuff going on that's going on. This one is a simple one, but we have a lot of volunteer EMS folks across the state that serve our rural areas. When they pick up someone who's in trouble and they're trying to, bring them into to the nearest, emergency room, trauma center, when they're trying to do that, there was a lot of paperwork involved, and there was time lost at the time when they were transferring. And now the health department is working on a solution where we can enter real-time the patient information, and it can be sent ahead, and they receive that at the hospital. They can be ready. We save precious minutes and can save some lives. And then on the thing that touches every family, every community, and every organization in our state is the disease of addiction. This is another thing where we do not know what the cost is to our state. My just a complete guess, it's got to be more than $1 billion of cost to the state of North Dakota that's hitting us on the cost of addiction. And I've reaffirmed that conclusion after we held 55 strategic reviews, which have never been done, because when we do budgeting in our state, we do it in a silo, and we do it by the line items that have been there in the accounting system. We don't say, how are we spending money on, children under 6? We got 20 agencies that are doing that. What's the sum of all that? We've got the columns, we don't have the rows, if you will, in the accounting system. And we certainly don't have that on thing, but every agency that we talk to is touched in some way by addiction. Highway patrol, absolutely. Corrections system, 80% of the people in the corrections system have got some kind of substance abuse disorder. We have, our K-12 system, behavioral health, is one of the biggest issues in K-12, and we spend billions of dollars on K-12. I won't go on, but I can give you an example of every single one of our agencies is touched by this. One of the things that we don't have in a rural area is having enough providers that can provide the support for them, and so we're coming up with a new licensing model around peer support. These are people who have lived experience, someone who's gone through and dealt with the disease of addiction, who is in recovery, gets training, and then they actually are able to help people that are trying to overcome the disease of addiction and get into recovery and stay in recovery. And all of the data says that a peer support specialist, a certified peer support specialist, has the efficacy, the same efficacy of someone that's got 5 degrees, 3 degrees, all the things you might think about someone in counseling. This is someone who's there, but part of the way this works is that it works because this is someone who's keeping track of that person. This can also help reduce suicide. This can help do a lot of other stuff. But this is a tool. We did a Recovery Reinvented did a contest last year. One of the ways to drive innovation is through contests and prizes. We had a $50,000 prize, and a software company called Recovery won the award, and that's going to help go towards their continuing to launch this product, which they're going to be using here. Hopefully it'll help other states, but it's a portal that can be used in a mobile way for someone who is a peer support specialist, might be working with 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people that are trying to work through recovery, and this is a tool to help them stay in touch and track their progress and help them keep on the road to recovery. Transparent data, important topic. Our OMB group has just launched this. I would encourage people to go take a look at it, where you can now, for the first time, take a look at how money is spent in the state of North Dakota. You can go in there, you can analyze, you can build your own graphs, you can take a look at what we have, and you can provide us feedback, because this is the wisdom of the crowds. We want everybody looking at how money is spent in North Dakota, because we'll get smarter at how it's being done. Not enough people understand how the money is spent or where it flows, and the more eyeballs on it, the better. So have at it. We invite you to come and take a look at that website. We also talked earlier about the MSI work that we're doing with Main Street Initiative, that we have to solve our workforce issues. We've got to have healthy, vibrant communities that families want to live in. And one of the ways that we can make that happen is by helping our community leaders, our elected leaders. I know the mayor of Fargo is here, and I think maybe the mayor of West Fargo is here, but thank you for Tim, Bernie, for all your leadership. These guys, these are part-time jobs. We have no full-time mayors in the state of North Dakota. Their city commissioners are not full-time jobs. But these local leaders get to make huge, tens of millions of dollars decisions. We want to equip leaders and the people that work full-time for the cities with all the information they need to help make the best decisions about building healthy, vibrant communities. And so we're building these out for communities across the state. And this team effort between private-public partnership won a Government Experience Award from the Center for Digital Government. So it's exciting, but go out and check out under mainstreetnd.com. Take a look at a community near you and learn about some of the data that's of your community. UAS leadership. This is an area we know North Dakota's excelled in, and how fitting that we're here at Senator Hoeven's conference, because the guy who's been the champion of UAS longer and harder than anybody else in our state, other than the entrepreneurs that have been in it, has been Senator Hoeven, going back to the Bank of North Dakota, governor for 10 years. He was behind this. He was putting money in the budget. As senator, he's been incredible. He helped secure $600 million earlier this year for a new loan and grant program through the USDA to encourage investment for broadband in hard-to-serve areas. All of that helps us when we're trying to keep this going. But there's been close to $50 million invested from the state, more than that, I'm sure, from the private side to try to build that out. Lieutenant Governor Brent Sanford, through a structure that was created under Senator Hoeven, leads all of the things, the Aeronautics Commission, the UAS. I think I saw Nick Flom here from the test site, got other folks that are here from Grand Forks, but we got a great setup, private-public things going, and we got to just keep charging on it. We had an incredible year this year, and we're not just talking about stuff that happened 10 years anymore. We're talking about what's happening today in North Dakota and leading on UAS. We had Elaine Chow, who's been to North Dakota. She's the Secretary of Transportation. FAA reports up to Elaine Chow. She selected North Dakota as one of the 10 sites nationwide to participate in the integration program that they have. And it's oddly called the Integration Pilot Program for things that don't have pilots, but it's a pilot program, but it's, I guess, integration non-pilot pilot. So we need another word in the English language there. But anyway, but this year with that, we launched the Grand Forks. Maybe you saw the news, but it was the Lindbergh flight of mid-altitude UAS. I mean, there was a flight that left Grand Forks, flew 3,740 miles, 24 hours and 2 minutes, unmanned flight from here, landed on an airfield in England. So that's the longest and first transatlantic flight. That was incredible. And then we had the U.S. Secretary of the Air Force, Heather Wilson, that was here. She was at the Grand Sky Technology Park earlier this year. She had a chance to see, because we've got this designation, we did the first beyond line of sight. So a drone could take off and fly, an unmanned vehicle flying. Before, they used to have a manned chase plane flying it. That's not very efficient or cost effective, but being able to go beyond line of sight is key. If you want to be able to do monitoring of a railroad corridor, of a pipeline corridor, of a transmission corridor, these are super applications for these longer term flights where they can fly out hundreds of miles and come back and collect the data. Anyway, so that was great. And then also we had the in the lower right of that thing, if that looks like bison tailgating, it is, but it was another first in the nation, which we flew a public mission over the top of a unmanned mission flying over public space with large crowds. And that was went very successfully. The flight went successfully. The bison won the game. It was a great day. We continue to invest in UAS, and I guess one of the big announcements that I want to make today, because we've got the budget address coming up next week, and usually all the stuff in the budget address is top secret until the day that it gets announced. But I wanted to pre-announce a big thing today, which is in that budget, we're going to be including a $30 million investment request to establish a statewide beyond visual line of sight network that will enable UAS efficiencies for state agencies, local communities, law enforcement, and the private sector. And what this means is that we will basically build out, if you think of like a ground-based network that can track people that are flying and do the handoffs like an air traffic control system for UAS is the way to think about it. We'll be the first state in the nation that could build that out. And so these dollars would go into creating the ground-based system that would allow people to come here and test and fly and do amazing things, and applications for ag and energy would be incredible. Seth talked about this. He mentioned this report. This is the actual slide. It's got to make you happy if you're a North Dakotan. The lighter the colors, the more access to broadband. I mean, this is a fun thing. I mean, this is like worth cheering about, because this goes back again. We're standing on the decisions that were made by many people before in both the private and public sector. I want to give a shout out to Midco as well. Midco's been pouring capital dollars into North Dakota. They just announced a data center recently. We've got the Dakota Carrier Network and all their rural telecom owners, members. Their investments, Seth showed the picture of that. But again, being called the crown jewel of the internet in the Midwest, I think it's crown jewel of the internet in the country, the way I'm reading this map, which I think is a great thing. And of course, it was right here at this conference 5 years ago, on stage is when the challenge was issued about the gigabit challenge. Let's be the first state to get to a gigabit. The Dakota Fiber Initiative came from that. We pulled together the private sector, the public sector, the co-ops. We got together, we had meetings, and we talked about the Dakota Fiber Initiative and how to drive that thing forward. But we have to keep driving forward. Again, not just to communities, we got to get to everybody. And when we have technology leaders, I want to express gratitude to Microsoft, who continues to invest in our community, in people, in programs, and in jobs, and in research. To have one of the big five here in our state continue to invest is great. And last year, when Brad Smith, who's the Microsoft president, was here and spoke, talked about the things that they're doing here, and one of those things that they're trying to do with their TechSpark initiative, which they're only launching in 6 states. One of those is this wireless broadband. You take unused spectrum that's not being used on the old TV, for people that are younger here, TV was this thing where there'd be a tower, and then they broadcast a signal, and then you had these antenna, and then it would pick up the signal. That's what TV was. What you didn't have, it wasn't a thing you carried around in your pocket. But there's unused spectrum on there, and we can use that to basically create high-speed, longer range broadband to get to everywhere, to fill in all of the blank spots on the map. And so this is another exciting program, and we're excited that Microsoft continues to work with us. Senator Kramer has also been very supportive of this, and this has also led to other things, a partnership with Microsoft. Last year when Brad Smith was here, the FFA, Future Farmers of America, with the Blue Jackets, 665,000 young people in a great organization. We made the national announcement with the national president, with the president of Microsoft. The national president of FAA in North Dakota made the announcement around a program called Blue 65, which is about basically bringing STEM research into FFA. So it's not, because you can't do agriculture today without doing STEM, and so combining those two things together. So fantastic stuff. And then in terms of other technological solutions, we believe, Brent Sanford and I believe strongly that it's about innovation, not about regulation. If we come up with a rule for industry and say, hey, here's a rule, and we'll use something like if you had a pipeline leak, and then we said we're going to spend a year or two creating a rule, then we spend a year or two getting into the Century Code, then we spend a year or two training up someone to go out and inspect pipelines, and it's a person, and they're trying to inspect all the incredible thousands and thousands and thousands of miles of pipelines we have in our state. We have close to over 350 river crossings of pipelines in our state. It's a very difficult thing for any number of inspectors to be on top of that. But again, automatically collected data, automatic sensors, all the things we talked about at the front end. There's some great things. So we pushed forward in working with the Environmental and Energy Research Center at the University of North Dakota. Through the North Dakota Industrial Commission, we provided $1.6 million in funds which got matched up to 3.7 for a program called iPipe. And then iPipe is working on innovations for automatically detection. So whether it's pressure, it's temperature, it's actual leaks, it's moisture, it's all of these things. Some of that can be combined with a UAS flying above. All those things can lead us to better, smarter technology inside the pipe so we can cover every one of those miles wherever it is, things that humans could never see driving around on the surface looking for a problem. And one of the companies that was involved in that challenge, we got all the companies in a room and we said to them, look, we are challenging you to go to try to find solutions versus us trying to impose a regulation on you that will cause you to misallocate your costs towards dealing with that regulation. We want you to instead take the capital that we're not going to impose on you, take that capital, you guys raise your R&D levels and go trying to find these solutions, because it's not good enough in North Dakota that if we have a farmer or rancher, the one that's discovering the leaks. That's happened twice. We had a farmer on a combine and a rancher on a horse found a leak. I told him that's not good enough in North Dakota. You've got to invest and try to do this. Here's the technology. And so one of the companies really stepped up, Bridger Pipeline, and Bridger Pipeline decided to team up with IBM Watson, artificial intelligence. They announced a solution last week. You know, and I think it's a possibility that this pipeline company, remember earlier when I said, no matter who you are, if you don't become a software company, you might be disrupted by one. It's possible that these guys with a solution that they've created with IBM, that solution, that software solution, could become worth more than their pipeline company. It's possible. You know, I mean, the software system, we talked about Marriott getting hacked, but their software system is more valuable than many of the properties they have. In whether United, American, or Delta, any of those people, the estimate is that the software systems that run those airlines contains more value than the actual physical assets of the planes themselves. And the same thing's going to happen in other transportation industries. So that's technological solutions at work. And the technology-driven thing, the other piece, when we sit on this end of the state, it's very easy to not understand the impact of North Dakota being the #2 oil-producing state in the nation. It is the activity, the economic activity, and the job creation and the tax dollars, whether it's sales tax dollars or direct oil and tax dollars, that's what's allowing us to do the things that we're doing in education, in healthcare, in every aspect of what we're doing. We are not overly dependent, but the juice that has flown in that has allowed us to really grow as a state in the last 10 years is credit to this industry. And when the oil prices crashed a few years ago, you know what happened? What happened is they started investing. People that couldn't make money at $70 a barrel figured out a way to make money at $40 a barrel. The private sector and technology worked, and what happened is then during a time where we had falling oil prices, they cut their costs, they improved their business models. They used to take 30 days to drill a well, now they drill them in 10 days. Used to put one on a pad, now there's up to 18 wells on a pad. The precision with which someone can go down 2 miles and over 2 miles. I was in a frac shack with a 25-year-old petroleum engineer, and I said, how accurate are you when you go down 2 miles and 2 miles over? He said, if your house was 2 miles down and 2 miles over, I could drill the lock out on the front door, okay? And this is the accuracy that they're doing this stuff. This is, and then the precision has led to output. So some of the leading companies in North Dakota with the same 4 miles of pipe are producing. They're drilling the well in a third of the days, and the well is producing 3 times as much oil, and it's producing twice as much gas as it did before. And so the productivity that this industry is unbelievable. The reason why we're now, again, the #2 oil-producing state in the nation is because it's been technologically driven. And you know what that means? This is probably my biggest point of the whole point right here, the geopolitical shift. We've got bad actors all over the world. And a number of those bad actors had access to energy, and they could control small countries with energy, could control the geopolitical space. The ability for us, say, to put sanctions on Iran a few weeks ago, and our economy didn't blip, it didn't even make the news. You guys didn't even hear about it, probably. Didn't even know that price of oil was going up or down, maybe because of oversupply, not because of anything it did with Iran. Go back and read George Sinner's 1980s budget addresses, the 1980s, and see what the OPEC shocks did to that. Go back to the year I graduated from high school in 1974, when we thought the world was going to run out of oil, and there was lines at gas stations all around the country. that's what dependence looks like on foreign oil. Now we're moving not towards energy independence, energy dominance. We should get our partners buying U.S. energy, and then the geopolitical shift, and guess what? We won't need to spend the money we spend sending our young people overseas. We have had North Dakota National Guard soldiers who report up to the governor, starting back since the time when John Hoeven was governor, through Governor Dalrymple, through me. We've had the longest time in the history of the state, 17 years, we've had people actively deployed to the Middle East ever since the War on Terror started. We have soldiers from North Dakota today deployed in the Middle East, and it's because we were dependent on their oil. This is changing because of the technology applied by the private sector in places like the Bakken in North Dakota is literally changing the entire geopolitical shift of the world. So you think North Dakota doesn't have a role to play in the world? We certainly do. And as I wrap up, a couple things. You lay over the top of all of this interconnectedness, all the Internet of Things with all the devices connected, cybersecurity becomes a bigger and bigger and bigger issue, and we have to have a cyber-educated workforce, cyber-educated families, everything. That's why this last week, we're very excited. North Dakota became the first state in the nation to approve a curriculum, because K-12 has approved curriculums. K-12 has a curriculum for computer science. We now have, as part of that computer science curriculum in K through 12 in North Dakota, a full cyber security curriculum as well, because you could, including at universities around the country, you get a computer science degree and never learn anything about cybersecurity. I mean, because it was more or less an afterthought. It was a separate category. It wasn't part of the core curriculum. That would be like, teaching structural engineering to people and then not have them understand that how they build things could relate to, fire code. Because again, when we say we need 3 million, there's a 3 million person shortage of cyber personnel in the nation. That's like saying we're short, 3 million firemen, and there's a bunch of houses on fire, and we got to hire more firemen to go out there. We can diminish the number of the 3 million cybersecurity people we need if we start building software systems and start building information systems, data systems better and smarter so that they're more secure, so that you don't need to have so many firefighters coming in after the fact. So we've got to get smarter about how we do that. Solving our workforce challenge is going to be a huge thing. That's an entire another keynote. Michelle Comer, who's here, who's our labor commissioner, who's our also dual role leading job service. Michelle led the statewide workforce development initiative, 32 business leaders from around the state. I'm sure a number of you were part of that. We've got a list of dozens of, their final report, which just came in, very exciting, dozens of things that we can do. If we don't solve the workforce issue, we completely put a gate on the economy of North Dakota. When John started as governor, it was jobs, 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 because we had people leaving and we didn't have enough jobs. Now we could have as many as 30,000 jobs available in North Dakota, and for the first time in the history in our country, we have more jobs available than people looking for them. So our competition against other states is no longer like, oh, let's see if we can get a company from Minneapolis to move 50 jobs to North Dakota. That's not the competition. The competition is, can we put together the K-12, the career and technical education, the higher education system, the private sector training, the certificates, can we do all of that to fill our workforce needs? If we can fill workforce needs, then we will fill all the jobs we have and companies will be flocking to our state. Workforce, number one, that's the thing that we got to try to solve. So, and that involves tech and education. That's a huge thing, and I said the DPI announcement that we had this week, the new computer and cyber standards, first in the nation, is a very cool thing. So the future of North Dakota, it always comes back to people, and we've got amazing people, amazing entrepreneurs, amazing qualities in our state, and I'm so confident about our future because of the people in North Dakota. But as citizens, we've got to figure out a way to embrace, learn, and deploy technology like we never have before if we're going to be competitive. And one of the things that we bring every day in our administration is a set of values that we think about doing that, and that is to have gratitude about what we do, the humility to understand that we don't know everything, we're not the smartest people in learn. We can learn from everyone. We can even learn from someone who's homeless on the street. We can learn from them about a better way to deliver services. And we have to have curiosity every day to figure out how we can do things differently. And then we have to have the courage to stand up to all the forces that are going to criticize and push back against change. We have to have that as part of our thing. So I know that all of you have that, or you wouldn't be at this conference. Thanks for investing in your time and learning. Thanks for all the great things you do for North Dakota. Have a fabulous day. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Doug. Good job. I don't know about you, but I am jacked about technology. How lucky are we to have a governor who is so excited and passionate about technology in our state? So thank you so much, Doug, for that. I am told for the first time ever at a conference we're actually on time and a little bit ahead of schedule. I thought it was a little aggressive to put shot collars in the presenters, but apparently it worked. Bad joke. Zoe, where are you? I need some jokes up here, Zoe. But the good news is we are on time, so we're going to continue to move forward. I'm really excited to announce the winners coming up, the 2018 North Dakota Information Technology Awards. The Technology Council of North Dakota represents more than 65 businesses, educational institutions, and state agencies across the state with an interest in the advancement of technology. So please welcome Justin Forty, TechND Executive Committee Member and Senior Director of Government Relations for Midco, to present these awards. Justin, come on up.
Thank you very much, Eric, and thanks to the governor for his remarks. Well done, as always. The Technology Council of North Dakota was founded in 2000 by North Dakota business, government, and educational leaders who recognized the need to strengthen the state's technology infrastructure and position itself as a national leader. For the past 18 years, TechND has worked to build a stronger North Dakota by actively encouraging the use, growth, and development of technology. But now it's time to give out our awards. It's time to recognize our award recipients for their outstanding efforts and their vital role in technology development in North Dakota. The recipients of these awards are changing the face of the technology industry within the state and can be a true inspiration to others. The statewide North Dakota Technology Awards program is one of the initiatives that was developed during the New Economy Technology Cluster meetings coordinated by the Greater North Dakota Chamber in 2001. TechND became the champion of the North Dakota Technology Awards program. Past award winners are listed in your program insert. Today we give out 3 awards: the Premier Technology Business, Technology Innovator, and Technology Champion, recognizing outstanding individuals and entities for their contributions to the use, growth, and technology development in North Dakota. Senator Hoeven and Todd Domrey's TechND Vice President and Director of Sales for the Dakota Carrier Network will be helping present the awards to this year's recipients. If they would come to the stage and take some photos with our award recipients, that would be great. We'd ask our award winners to come up for photos while we read a little bit about their biographies, and we will also have a short video with each one of them as well. First up is our Premier Technology Business Award, and the award goes to True IT. Zach Paulson, Chief Executive Officer, is here to accept the award. This recognizes a business that has achieved outstanding success by developing or providing technology business solutions. The mission of True IT is to deliver technology service for the stabilization and acceleration of its clients' businesses and organizations. Since 2012, True IT has grown from a small managed service and software development startup to 58 employees, 43 of which are employed in North Dakota. In 2018, they made 2 key acquisitions of Summit Group Software and the North Dakota branch of Netrix IT. Revenues have grown to exceed $12 million in combined services offerings in IT, managed services, consulting, and much, much more. They are becoming the standard for a single call for IT services for an organization. They have won numerous awards, including Zach's finalists for Entrepreneur of the Year in both 2017 and 2018 from the Fargo Chamber. Congratulations.
We started True IT intentionally. We didn't make up the name by accident. It was an opportunity to create True IT. And what makes us a black sheep in the industry is the industry as a whole has always been focused on the technology, whether it's working on a cancer drug or rehabilitating children that maybe have gone through serious illnesses or accident. That's what technology can do to our society. And many organizations focus on that technology, but they forget about the people and the individuals.
I still remember the first day that I walked into this office, and the first thing I saw when I walked in was 3 core values. And I read them and I thought to myself, if I would describe myself to people, I would tell you warm and fuzzy, Kaizen, and loyalty are sort of part of who I think I am already.
We really care about the person that we're talking to. We want to fix the issue, but we also want to help the person that has the issue, not necessarily just looking at the technology, but the actual person behind it.
We're finally starting to see the organizations come around to this idea of empathy in business, but that's been instilled in True IT since day one. And oftentimes we were kind of ridiculed for being the cute, warm, fuzzy group instead of the serious professional group. But what they didn't understand is that serious professionals want the support of warm fuzzies in their technology.
I grew up in a small town, and so it feels like that a little bit to me when I come to True IT, where people kind of know everybody, and if somebody's hurting or somebody needs assistance, you just feel that rush of support.
The culture that we have here where everybody's kind of joking around and we get work done, but we're all friends here doing a job together.
Most fun really comes down to that people enjoy what they do and they're proud of what they do. So as they're sharing their victories, we share in those victories with them. It sounds really simple, but it's amazingly hard to come by in company culture. I love the idea of people loving what they do.
Congratulations to True IT. Next up is the recipient of the Technology Innovator Award. This award recognizes a non-technology specific entity that is a leader in the use of technology to serve its primary customer. And this year's award winner is Xcel Energy. Accepting the award is Chris Clark, President, Greg Chamberlain, Regional Vice President, Mark Nisbet, North Dakota Principal Manager, and Eileen Lockhart, Unmanned Aircraft System Manager. They were one of the first companies to secure approvals from the Federal Aviation Administration to conduct unmanned aircraft system missions and are breaking ground in the use of that technology. Xcel Energy has integrated unmanned aircraft systems into its operation to enhance public and worker safety, improve reliability for customers, and capture maximum efficiency gains. The Unmanned Aircraft Systems Program Office works within the company to deploy the technology across operations, including inspections of transmission lines, substations, gas pipelines, power plant boilers, and wind farm components.
Xcel Energy is dedicated to providing our customers with clean, safe, and reliable energy at an affordable price. Exploring new, innovative technology is a key way we improve service to our customers. We are no stranger to innovation, and we have a long history innovating in North Dakota. 25 years ago, we were the first utility to use a geographic information system to map our utility system. In 2015, we became the first utility in North Dakota to use unmanned aircraft systems, or drones, to help us handle some of our most difficult jobs, like inspecting transmission lines. Today, we are leading the nation with our use of drone technology. Partnerships in North Dakota have been instrumental to our progress with drones. We've worked closely with the Northern Plains UAS test site, the University of North Dakota, the North Dakota Department of Commerce, and others to unlock the benefits of drones. Together, we have advanced the use of drone technology and are actively engaged in setting national policy for the commercial use of drones, helping us put drones to even greater use. These flights help us inspect our lines safely, efficiently, and cost-effectively. Now, a new opportunity to collaborate with the North Dakota Department of Transportation and the Federal Aviation Administration is opening up new frontiers. North Dakota is one of 10 states selected for the federally sponsored Integration Pilot Program. North Dakota will partner with state, local, and tribal governments and private sector entities like Xcel Energy. We will work together to accelerate drone integration into the national airspace. At Xcel Energy, our support of drone technology has provided opportunities to solve key challenges while keeping safety and our customers at the forefront. With our strong partnerships in North Dakota, we will continue to innovate as we build our energy future.
Congratulations to Xcel Energy. Our next award is the Technology Champion Award. The North Dakota Technology Champion Award recognizes an individual that has championed the development of a North Dakota technology company, the promotion or use of technology in the academic realm, and the delivery of technology to North Dakota citizens. And this year, our Technology Champion Award goes to Barry Batchelor. Barry founded Appario in 2003 and currently serves as the chairman of the board. His innovation and enthusiasm and deep understanding of emerging technologies have set the tone for them to stride forward in its quest to help customers be game changers in their industries by providing engineering, manufacturing, and technology for end-to-end product development. Appario has grown to more than 200 people across 3 locations with an in-house manufacturing facility that is fully equipped for prototyping and production. Appario is devoted to delivering defect-free, high-value products to meet customers' requirements.
In 2003, Barry Batchelor founded Appario, which is Latin for to appear. 4 short years later, Appario was awarded Product Breakthrough of the Year by Aviation Week and Space Technology for the Alerts software. In 2008, Appario broke ground on a new facility aptly named Genesis in the NDSU Research and Technology Park. A few years later, Appario internalized manufacturing and began taking products from concept to completion in-house. That same year, Appario introduced a revolutionary acoustic-based blockage monitor for air seeders. In 2011, Inc. 500 listed Appario as the #1 fastest-growing engineering company in the USA and 159th fastest-growing of all private companies. In that spirit of growth, Appario opened offices in Tempe, Arizona and Paris, France. In 2014, Appario and AgCo formed a joint venture, Intelligent Ag Solutions. Acquiring the Horizon building more than doubled manufacturing operations and provided space for a growing workforce. In 2016, Appario developed a network of avionics dealers spanning across the country. Last year, the Aircraft Electronics Association voted Appario the Associate Member of the Year. Appario also developed the first aftermarket section control last year, adding precision seating to John Deere air carts. 2018 marks the 15-year anniversary since the founding of Appario. From everyone here at Appario, we wish to thank Barry Batchelor and congratulate him on this well-deserved award.
Again, on behalf of the Technology Council of North Dakota, we are proud to present these awards today. Thank you guys all very much. We'd love to have you all more involved with TechND. We're working on workforce issues for the technology community. We're working on building the best possible policy environment that we can, and we're blessed to work with our leaders, Senator Hoeven and Doug Burgum, to build that right environment for technology. We've got legislative sessions coming up as well. We've got to get that policy right for the tech community, and we've got to get it right ahead of other states and other areas. So I'd encourage you to get more involved with TechND. We'd love to have you all join our organization and help continue to build the great tech environment we have in North Dakota. Thank you all very much.
Justin. Thank you so much, Justin, and of course, congratulations to our TechND winners. Before I introduce Senator Hoeven, Zoe did something very sweet and kind for me. I told her I was struggling with jokes, so she provided me just a couple, and I got to read them to you, okay? Where does bad light end up? In prism. Why did the bear dissolve in water? Because it was polar. Why does a burger have less energy than a steak? Because a burger is in its ground state. I actually get this one. What do you call an educated tube? A graduated cylinder. Thanks so much, Joey, for those jokes. She's good. She's got a talent there. All right. Well, now it's, of course, my pleasure to introduce our partner for this event, Senator John Hoeven. Senator Hoeven was sworn as North Dakota's 22nd U.S. Senator after serving 10 years as governor for the state of North Dakota. Now, under his leadership, North Dakota saw remarkable expansion and diversification of its economy and gained thousands of new jobs. Now, the senator works to implement the same kind of pro-growth policies on a national level. Senator Hoeven serves as a chairman of the Senate of Agricultural Appropriations Committee and the Indian Affairs Committee, and as a member of the Agricultural, Energy, and Homeland Security Committees. Further, he serves on the Senate Republican High-Tech Task Force, Unmanned Aerial Systems Caucus, Air Force Caucus, Entrepreneurship Caucus, and a whole lot of other Senate groups. Please join me in giving a warm, warm welcome to Senator John Hoeven.
Thanks, sir. Thank you, Eric. Thanks for the nice introduction. And I had some really, really great jokes, but they're not nearly as good as Zoe's, so I'm not even going to try. So way to go, girl. Heard you wowed the crowd earlier. All right, I knew you would. Fantastic. Okay, some gratitude right off the get-go here. So many folks to thank, and I'll miss some. But I want to thank the Greater Fargo-West Fargo-Moorhead Chamber of Commerce and, of course, Craig Whitney and his whole team. And maybe give them a big round of applause. They work hard on this. Come on, yeah, show them some love. Give them some love. They are fantastico. And then Governor Burgum, is he still here? There he is. Hey, fantastic. Thank you. We couldn't do this without you. I think you've been here, I think, almost every year. And it just wouldn't be a tech conference, State of Technology, without you, Governor. And thank you for your phenomenal leadership of our state. We appreciate it big time. I want to thank our special guest, Andre Iancu. I hear he wowed the crowd too, almost in Zoe fashion. Pretty close. And of course, we have the administrator of the SBA here, not for a WWE bout, but to help you, I think. But I know, Linda McMahon, you never know. She might surprise us. But it's great to have her here, and we appreciate so much both of you coming and being our special guests. Senator Heitkamp was here. We appreciate her joining us. Eric, thanks for emceeing. Great job on kind of embellishing the stuff we gave you for my intro, so way to go. Thank you. Appreciate that. Need all help I can get. More importantly, he's the CEO, founder of CoSchedule, one of the fastest growing entrepreneurial tech-oriented companies in the state. So,
I'm not. I wish I was.
well, I thought you were with CoSchedule.
Well, I am with CoSchedule.
But you're not the founder.
Well, I mean, I can be if you want me to.
Okay. Well, CoSchedule, great success story. Thanks for being part of it.
Absolutely.
Thanks for being here today to be our MC. But most importantly, to our sponsors, thank you, but to all of you. I mean, this is about you. This is the third wave. I mean, you hear it from me every year. You're going to hear it from me every year, probably till they put me in the ground, which hopefully won't be too soon. But this is the third wave. North Dakota is obviously right at the top when it comes to agriculture. Our number one industry always has been. We will continue to be an absolute leader in agriculture. Energy. I mean, we have busted loose in energy in just unbelievable ways. When I started as governor, we produced less than 100,000 barrels of oil a day. We weren't talked about too much. Now, we're closing on 1.4 million barrels a day, second only to Texas. I think we hit a record 1.36 million last month. I think, Gov, you've set a goal of 2 million just to keep Texas moving so they can stay ahead of us. But it's not just oil and gas, coal-fired electric leading the way. renewables across the board, energy powerhouse, ag powerhouse, energy powerhouse, the third wave, the third leg on the stool of our economy, tech entrepreneurship, tech entrepreneurship. That's what you see up here. That's what you see with the awards. That's what you all are about, driven out of this Fargo area and the Red River Valley for our whole state, Minnesota as well. It is happening. We are starting to build and ride that crest. We have a long way to go. We will not stop, and we won't even stop then, but our goal initially is to get to the same level in tech entrepreneurship that we are in ag and energy. And when we're as well known across this country for tech entrepreneurship as we are for our leadership position in ag and energy, then we will have hit our milestone. We won't stop, but that's our milestone. So, a lot of great things happening, and as you know, I have this amazing staff. Jessica Lee, where are you? Led by Jessica Lee, does a great job, used to work with the Chamber. Craig gave me a good report on her, said she did a great job. But she and her team put together, just kind of in the spirit of David Letterman. For some of you young people, I don't know if you ever watched David Letterman, but hopefully most of you remember David. You can Google it. But he had the top 10. You remember he had the top 10? So before I do the main thing I'm up here to do, which is to introduce the SBA administrator, and again, she was most gracious to join us today. I'm just going to run through some of the, this is just the top, well, this is 10. I can't even say they're the top. The crew put it together. I could do a lot more than 10, but I'm just going to, just to show some of the progress areas that we have, I'm going to run through 10 great items a la David Letterman fashion. Number 10, empowering entrepreneurship is a nationwide movement, but we do it best in North Dakota. How do I know we do it best in North Dakota? Because I went on Wikipedia. And after I put that on Wikipedia, the next day I went to Wikipedia and there it was. So we're number one. It's that simple. Yeah, that's how you do it. Okay, now seriously, Emerging Prairie and 1 Million Cups broke nationwide attendance records this year with almost 500 people attending the Living Legends Day. Many of you might have been there, but almost 500 people for that event, and they are now the highest regular attendance 1 Million Cups in the nation. Can you say Greg Tavine? Can you say Greg? That's the kind of networking that helps our young entrepreneurs, and guys like me come see what you're doing and we get so excited about it, we want to help you. And that kind of networking is so important. We are number one in regular attendance at 1 Million Cups. That says something. We're trying to put legislation forward to help you entrepreneurs. For example, I'm co-sponsoring the Portable Benefits for Independent Workers pilot program, so you can take those benefits when you go start that new company or join one of these new great companies. And also, as Eric mentioned, the Entrepreneurship Caucus, which we've formed now in the Senate, is again trying to be attuned to what we can do to help you. Okay, number 9, the increasing impact of technology on North Dakota's economy. Technology now contributes nearly $3 billion to North Dakota gross state product, and on average, tech jobs pay higher than all other sectors in North Dakota. Repeat that. On average, tech jobs in our economy here in North Dakota pay higher wages and income than all other sectors in North Dakota. We like that. We like higher wages and growing income. Number 8, we are addressing the workforce needs of the future by expanding STEM education. This year in Congress, we passed legislation that provides $1.2 billion, with a B, $1.2 billion for grants to support STEM, science, technology, education, and math education under what's called the Student Support and Academic Enrichment Program. Why do I bring that up? Put in those grants. Let's make sure that we get our share on that STEM education funding, right? That's when we see somebody up here like Zoe, we get it. So $1.2 billion available for STEM grants. Let's make sure we're out there applying for those grants and getting them. Number 7, private industry making strong capital investments in North Dakota. This one this could have been my whole, this was going to be my whole talk, but they came up with this 10 thing that they wanted me to do, so I'm doing it. But private industry, and I could have burned not just the whole hour, but the whole half day taking, and that's what this is about. So I don't know, this is number 7, this should have been number 1. But we're getting a lot of great investment in this tech entrepreneurship effort. You saw that with these companies we just recognized. Pretty cool stuff. And there's so many more. I'll give you another example. Aldevron this year opened the world's largest DNA manufacturing facility in Fargo this year. The world's largest DNA manufacturing facility in the world this year in Fargo. 70,000 square feet. That's a lot of DNA. 70,000 square feet of DNA. Governor Burgum, that's a lot. I mean, 70,000 square feet. All right, number 6, we're bolstering the deployment of broadband across the country. Now, in the Congress in 2018, we appropriated $600 million to help with rural broadband. This year, FY19, $400 million to help with rural broadband. So that's over $1 billion for rural broadband last year, this year. That goes through my Ag Appropriations Committee that I chair. And so we're working hard to make sure that we get that funding out to states like North Dakota that with Dakota Carrier Network and Midco and others are deploying it. Not only the data centers that you guys just announced, thank you, but that gigabyte access across the state, which again I know is another challenge from Governor Burgum. And right now, North Dakota is on course to be the first in the nation. This is not something from Wikipedia. This is not something I made up. This is true. North Dakota on course to be the first in the nation with gigabyte internet service to all school districts. All of our school districts in a rural state. And more than 75% of North Dakota residents have access to gigabyte internet right now. People are surprised when they come from the coast and find they can turn on their iPad or their computer or whatever, and they got gigabyte level access. I think they're already surprised, 75%. All right, number 5, the technology. Through technology, we're driving greater energy production. I touched on this one earlier. I won't go into it as deep, but not just in terms of leading in oil and gas. And people, when I tell them, well, we produce more, only Texas produces more oil and gas, they go, wow, what about Alaska? Well, they produce about half as much as we do. Not quite, because we're almost 1.4 million barrels a day, and they're about 600 million a day. So they're not quite half of us. People, they just, well, Louisiana, no, they're lower yet. So again, we can do this stuff. And we will do it. Project Tundra, Alum Cycle, leading projects. Private sector, public sector, federal, state partnerships to capture CO2 from coal-fired electricity. We're leading the way forward. We're getting federal appropriations for it, and we're getting state appropriations for it, and the companies are invested. They're already the latest, greatest coal-fired electric companies in the world. Understand, when we crack this code, it's not just going to be good for this country. It's going to have global impact. Look what's going on with China and all their coal plants. When we crack this code, when we take the technological feasibility and make it economically viable, crack that code just like we did on hydraulic fracturing, it will have global impacts. So technology leading the way forward in our energy industry. Now, how about applying technology to our number 1 industry, agriculture? This is the Grand Farm Initiative. This is pretty cool stuff, and this is something we want to talk to Administrator McMahon about as well. But this will be the first 100% autonomous farm anywhere. No one does farming better than we do. And now we're going to have a completely autonomous farm. It will include a tech accelerator established on land that's been donated for the project. This concept was introduced by Barry Batcheller during the 2018 TEDx in Fargo. And you saw what he's doing with Apario. Do you think with people like Barry and others, there's no question that we can pull off the Grand Farm Initiative? All right, number 3, UAS. This is a story I love to tell. This is a whole big chapter too. I'm going to have to go quick here. We are leading in all things UAS. Grand Sky Technology Park in Grand Forks. If you haven't been there, you got to go. General Atomics, Northrop Grumman, other companies coming in there. Another first for us this year, first in the nation to fly beyond visual line of sight with a large drone. Predator Reaper in the NAS, the National Airspace. First in the nation to do it without a chase plane. Why? because we invested in the DASSER-11 radars that link us from Grand Forks Air Force Base to radar systems at the Grand Sky Technology Park that give us the visual ability to fly large unmanned aircraft in the national airspace without a chase plane. Do you think that matters to leading aerospace companies like General Atomics or Northrop Grumman? Gee, I don't know. But since if you go up and look, they both built big multi-million-dollar facilities there, and they're adding on, I think the answer is yes. But you never say whoa in a horse race. You never say whoa in a horse race. So we got to keep going. There's 6 of these test sites. As a matter of fact, I included language this year in the FAA reauthorization that extends those test sites another 5 years. I originally wrote that language to set up those 6 test sites. We've now extended them out till 2023. And the other ones are good too, and they're aggressive. They're New York and Alaska, Nevada, and they got some real champions pushing for them too, so we got to keep going. This year we brought up Air Force Secretary Heather Wilson and Homeland Security Director Kirsten Nielsen, and they were very impressed, and that's important because we link directly with the military and the Air Force, and we link directly with Customs and Border Protection. We have 900 miles of border security we're responsible for, all the way from the Great Lakes out through most of Montana, out of the Grand Forks Border Patrol Station, and we use UAS, unmanned systems. Again, we're leading the way. We passed legislation preventing emerging threats to do even more, and Grand Sky Technology Park will be part of it. Okay, the last 2, I know I'm running along because it's time to introduce the administrator. But these 2 are things we're doing at the federal level that I think really make a difference, really matter, and can really help you. The first is we're cutting the regulatory burden, big time. We've decided that it is far better to let Doug Burgum, technology guru for North Dakota, work with you on how you get through regulations and so forth and make sure you do it right, rather than getting tied up in federal regulatory red tape. That's how you move fast. That's how you stay nimble, agile, lethal. And Governor Burgum is the right guy to help you out. The state of North Dakota, the right entity to help you get that business up and off the ground and running and enable you to keep growing and expanding and not getting tied up in federal red tape. And entrepreneurs that know that better than anyone. And finally, tax relief. At the end of the day, you need capital. You need capital to start your business, to invest in your business, to grow your business, to create jobs, to hire more people and pay higher wages. And that's what we want. We want you hiring more great North Dakota workers and Minnesota workers in your companies and paying them higher wages. And we passed the biggest tax relief bill in 30 years. And the state, if you look at the studies, the state that came out number 1 in that tax relief, North Dakota. Number 1. So again, it comes back to empowering you. Our energy policy when we set up in 2001, empowering North Dakota. And that's what it's all about now, empowering you, our great technology entrepreneurs. Thank you for what you are doing. Thank you. And now I would like to introduce somebody who, again, we appreciate very much coming, and she's got a crazy busy schedule, so we really appreciate her being here and what she does. Linda McMahon serves as the 25th Administrator of the U.S. Small Business Administration. As a member of President Trump's cabinet, she advocates on behalf of the 30 million small businesses in America. The SBA helps Americans start, grow, and expand businesses through an extensive network of field offices and partnerships with private and public organizations. She is an entrepreneur. You all know about her. It's an amazing success story. But she is an entrepreneur and business leader, of course, herself. She is co-founder and former CEO of WWE. She helped grow WWE from a small regional operation to a publicly traded global enterprise with more than 800 employees and a global audience of fans. You all know about it and have heard about it, but just remember, there was a day when she was in exactly the same position that some of you are, where she had a great idea, a great concept, and she wanted to start a company, and she did. And she maybe just had a couple folks with her before she turned it into a global enterprise. That's what we're talking about. And she's a great person to have here to not only as an inspirational person, but somebody who is here to help all of you with the great things that you're trying to do. Please help me welcome Linda McMahon, SBA Administrator.
Wow, that's a hard act to follow. Senator Hoeven, thank you very much for those kind words. Excuse me, and for inviting me to speak here today. What a great group. When I was first invited to come here, and I heard this was going to be a technology conference, I said, do you have to be an expert in technology? Because if so, you've got the wrong person. And I'm technologically challenged most of the time. You know, I keep trying to make email and texting work. But thank you so much, because you are that next great force. We are in the throes of the next industrial revolution, and that industrial revolution really is centered so much around technology. I'll be in Davos in January for the World Economic Conference, and the theme of the conference this year is the global industrial revolution, the next round. So you'll be hearing a lot, from that. I want to thank, again, Senator Hoeven for inviting me today, and it's a pleasure to be with Governor Burgum. I look forward to meeting him after our next break, and members of the Fargo-Moorhead-West Fargo Chamber of Commerce. I understand your chamber has more than 2,000 members, and 90% of them are small businesses. When President Trump asked me to take on this role, he told me he wanted somebody who had actually built a business, someone who could walk the walk and talk the talk with small businesses. So it's really something that's in my DNA. And I enjoy businesses of all sizes and shapes. I love seeing the innovation that comes from our small business communities. So I want to thank you all for all that you are doing with your innovations. Over the past year and a half, I have met with more than 800 small businesses in 49 states. Today, North Dakota is my 49th state, and I will wind up the year in Hawaii, which seems like a nice place to go in December. So many of these entrepreneurs tell me they simply would not exist without the help of the SBA, whether through guaranteed loans that finance the launch or expansion, through counseling and mentorship that help them chart their success, through assistance in securing government contracting, or receiving help from a declared disaster. The SBA delivers for small businesses, usually, most often, when they need resources that they can't get elsewhere. And through its SBIR and STTR programs, the SBA is working to help small businesses develop and leverage cutting-edge technology, some of which I bet there are those in this room that are working on. Considering the tech focus of today's conference, I'd like to start by saying SBA is committed to helping innovators start, grow, and expand their businesses. As I'm sure you're all aware, it can be extremely difficult to secure research and development funding, especially when what you're developing seems a bit risky to traditional lenders. And Senator Hoeven was correct in encouraging you to apply for those grants that are available. The SBIR and STTR programs offer small businesses opportunities to compete for contracts and grants from 11 federal agencies to develop and commercialize new technology, all without losing their equity or their intellectual property. That's really important. Companies like Qualcomm, Symantec, Illumina, iRobot, 23andMe, and Aurora Flight Sciences all started with early stage funding through the SBIR and STTR programs. These companies turned ideas into technologies that are revolutionizing industry and changing lives not only around the country but around the world. Over the past 5 years, North Dakota brought in over $4.4 million through 15 SBIR and STT awards. I think we can continue to grow that number. And the SBA is committed to making sure that you have the resources you need. We've developed a series of online tutorials to describe key elements of the program and highlight differences between the different agencies that are offering these grants. You can find that at sbir.gov/tutorials, sbir.gov/tutorials. We've also been working to train and educate local resources like our SBA district offices, small business development centers, and procurement technical assistance centers on how to support you with everything from submitting your proposal to securing funding. We at the U.S. Small Business Administration like to say, we power the American dream. And nowhere is that dream more apparent than seeing entrepreneurs taking a risk by starting or growing a small business of their own. The SBA is proud to be their ally. And right now is a terrific time for small businesses. They're feeling confident in the economy, and they're investing in their businesses. In fact, in surveys done by the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, NFIB, and the National Association of Manufacturers, members are reporting record or near record levels of optimism for entrepreneurs. And consumer confidence reached its highest level in 18 years. Surveys show Americans feel secure enough in their jobs and the economy to spend more of their hard-earned money. Businesses benefit, and it's as simple as that. More people, more money in their pocket, spending more money on goods and services or investing in their companies really grows our economy. Since President Trump took office, the SBA has provided loan guarantees of more than $60 billion to small businesses, supporting 1.2 million jobs. So what's the source of all this optimism? I think a lot of it comes from what small businesses see happening in Washington. President Trump is delivering on his pro-growth agenda. As you know, he's an entrepreneur himself, and he's working to make it easier for entrepreneurs to invest in their businesses and employees through tax cuts, regulatory rollbacks, health care, and modernized trade agreements. So Senator Hoeven referenced tax cuts, and last year, President Trump signed Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, and most small businesses will now be able to deduct 20% off their taxable income even before they get savings from the lower tax brackets. And for the first 5 years, they'll be able to write off any investment in new equipment that's made that year. Now here's how that plays out in real life. I often like to tell this story because it's so indicative of what getting that extra money can mean. I visited a commercial bakery in Braintree, Massachusetts, a bread baking bakery. Now, if you can imagine walking through this factory, which is probably the size of this room and a little bigger, with oven after oven, baking different types of bread. Well, all you wanted was a stick of butter and a little spreading knife to pop some of those out of the oven and eat them while you were there. It really smelled divine. And the owner was walking around with me, and I asked him about what were his next steps to grow his business. And he said, "See that big oven over there?" He said, "That costs $1.5 million. And with the write-offs I'm going to be able to take under the new tax law," he said, "I'm going to be able to invest in buying another one of those new ovens, but I don't have room for it, so I'm going to increase the size of my building. I'm going to hire new employees, and I already have orders for business as soon as I can be up and running to handle those increased orders." And so that's an example of a real entrepreneur that is going to be able to take advantage of the tax cuts and grow his business, hire more employees, put more money in their pockets as well. So our entrepreneurs are absolutely using this money. Since tax cuts, the average North Dakota household is expected to see its income rise by 7%, more than $4,500. Secondly, regulatory reform is a reason for our optimism. Often entrepreneurs tell me it's not a specific regulation that is burdensome or a chokehold on their business, but the sheer volume of rules and mandates that they must keep up with. Now, I grew a business. I actually wish I'd known about SBA at the time, so I'm trying to get the message out about SBA. But those entrepreneurs tell me, look, I don't have a big law firm or a horde of accountants to keep me up to speed. You know, I'm not only the CEO, you know, but I am the accountant. Quite often I'm also the janitor late at night. So we need to make sure that we have the right kind of regulations in place. A fact that was astounding to me was that small businesses in compliance for regulations spend about $11,700 per employee. Now that's more than large corporations have to pay for their compliance. Under President Trump, costly, job-killing federal regulations are being cut. In FY 2018, the Trump administration saved a net $23 billion in regulatory costs. And for every new regulation created, 12 have been eliminated. These include regulations regarding overtime, the classification of independent contractors, and relief for energy development, very important here in the state of North Dakota. And I know how important the energy sector is here. The oil boom has fueled economic growth that propelled the state to the top of national rankings. Regulatory reform aims to promote that prosperity and make it easier for small businesses to compete. In fact, since President Trump was elected, North Dakota's rig count, I'm sure all of you are familiar with what that is, a pretty good measure of oil and gas activity, has increased more than 51%. Third, the President is working to identify where this administration can make it easier for small businesses to offer health care benefits that until now have been largely unaffordable. Right now, of the 44 million Americans that lack health insurance, 15 million of them work for small businesses or operate a sole proprietorship. The President has signed an executive order that would allow more employers to form association health plans, or AHPs. Small businesses and the self-employed could join together through trade groups or associations or regional chambers of commerce, and I was able to speak to the president of one of the chambers here today to let him know that if he was in touch with the U.S. Chamber, they would give him some overall direction on how to contact the different chambers and associations to implement these health care plans. These associations then are able to buy into the bigger insurance pool. So there's a great economy of scale in that. Cut administrative costs and strengthen bargaining power to get better rates. They are more affordable and flexible coverage for small businesses. And for the first time, a sole proprietor will be able to enter into these pools. A sole proprietor of which he or she is his own employee. That's never happened before. So this is really going to be something that will help small businesses recruit and retain employees. And with the wonderful issue of low unemployment in business and the scarcity of workers, this is a help for small businesses to be able to help them compete. And finally, trade. President Trump this morning signed the USMCA agreement in Argentina. As a border state and a key exporter of energy and agricultural products, North Dakota clearly has a stake in the success of USMCA. In 2017, North Dakota exported almost $5 billion worth of goods to Canada alone. The new trade agreement delivers on President Trump's promise to modernize and rebalance trade rules to better serve the interests of American workers and businesses. USMCA is the first North American trade agreement that enumerates protections that are specific to small and medium-sized businesses, job creators that represent over 99% of businesses in the United States. This agreement will do a number of things to support small businesses, especially in the technology sector. The agreement develops a strong intellectual property chapter that protects innovation and jobs. These IP protections are the strongest ever negotiated, especially concerning the protection of trade secrets that previously did not exist under any prior trade agreement. It will also cut red tape and transaction costs when companies are obtaining protection of those IP rights that are often a barrier to entry for small businesses. You know, you can have your trademarks, copyright protections, and if they are not respected in other countries, you lose literally billions of dollars for those small businesses. The agreement also includes a chapter on digital trade that supports internet-enabled small businesses and e-commerce exports. Now, what does that mean? It prohibits customs on things like ebooks, videos, music, games, and software that are distributed electronically. It protects cross-border data flow and limits requirements to disclose proprietary source code. This agreement, negotiated by President Trump, will be a mutually beneficial win for North American farmers and ranchers. While agriculture has generally performed well under NAFTA, many wheat and dairy farmers have been harmed because of lack of access to Canadian markets. USMCA makes trade fairer for farmers. Regarding wheat, Canada will extend equal treatment to U.S. wheat exports when assessing its quality. On dairy, Canada will eliminate its so-called Class 7 programs that impose prohibitive tariffs on milk, and dairy farmers will be able to export up to 3.6% of the Canadian market. Now, that doesn't sound like a lot, maybe 3.6%, but it's worth about $70 million to the U.S. dairy industry. The agreement also incentivizes the use of American high-wage manufacturing labor and strengthens labor provisions. For auto manufacturing, manufacturers will qualify for 0 tariffs if 75% or more of a car's parts are made in North America. That's up from the 62.5% under NAFTA. This will, 1, minimize transshipment of auto components from third-party countries through Canada and Mexico, and 2, it'll reduce the incentive to move plants to low-cost Mexico because 40 to 45% of an auto must be produced by workers earning at least $16 per hour. Bottom line, the USMCA will encourage more goods to be produced in the United States, and that's what we want. Of course, it still has to be ratified by Congress, but through the USMCA, new customs and trade rules will cut red tape and make it easier for small businesses to tap into foreign markets and participate in cross-border trade. Just before coming to the conference, I toured Spectrum Aramed here in Fargo and hosted a conversation with small business owners about what the USMCA will mean for them. And they told me they were really pleased about the IP protection they would have, and that it would certainly open markets and help new businesses grow and start, and it will develop business growth here in the United States. It's an exciting time for our country, our economy, and especially for the SBA. When I came on as administrator in February last year, I made a commitment to visit all 68 of the district offices of SBA around the country. And as I said, this is my 49th state. I have 4 more district offices to go to. And the reason I like to go to these district offices and meet with small business owners is because when I'm on their turf, it helps me understand their challenges and be a better advocate for them in Washington. I call this the SBA Ignite Tour because I believe it sparks ideas and drives action. And I'm about action. I just can't stand to sit around and someone said, you know, why are you doing this? You could be sitting on a beach somewhere, you've built a business and done all of that. I hate inaction. So I want to help put policies in place and talk to business owners that keep that creativity, that innovation, and that action going. I had a dear friend once, was older than I was. She was about my mom's age, and she was a great mentor to me. And she said, my nickname was Linda Bug. She said, Linda Bug, let me tell you something. She said, live life to the fullest and always remember you rather wear out than rust out. Now, that's been one of my mottos. One of my priorities has been to ensure the SBA is operating as efficiently and effectively as possible. Just one example, we've updated our systems so all loan applications are processed electronically. A tool we introduced last year called Lender Match even connects borrowers with potential lenders from the convenience of their smartphone. So if you're an entrepreneur and you want to know, well, who's lending in my market, go to lendermatch.gov, because it'll list the lenders in the area where you are, the industries that you're representing, and they will let you know who's available in the marketplace. The SBA is processing loan applications in about half the time as it was 2 years ago, all while processing the same, if not more, loans and enhancing quality control. So we're doing the same or more in half the time, and we want to continue to grow that efficiency. This means small businesses are getting the capital they need faster and more efficiently. They can invest in their businesses, hire more workers, or expand their operations. Since small businesses are the core engines of our economy, this efficiency accelerates their success and the success of the continuing growth of our economy. You might have also noticed SBA has a new logo. You might not have noticed that. You might not have ever seen the old one. But it's an example of a year-long project we just completed called SBA Reimagined, which puts customers' needs at the center of our outreach. You will also see consistent imagery and messaging throughout the agency and consistent delivery of services. We want to ensure everyone in the field and at headquarters is speaking with one voice, working together as one SBA with one goal, ensuring you and our nation's 30 million small businesses have the resources that you need to grow and to expand. And I want to give you my pledge that that's exactly what the focus at SBA is. That is exactly what the focus of this administration is. That is to continue to support and grow our small businesses, because you are the backbone of our economy and you're the engine of that economy. So I wish you much continued success. Please check into the SBIR and STTR programs for some of those grants to continue to develop your programs. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and thank you so much for allowing me to come and speak with you for a few minutes. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much, Administrator. Wow, what a great event. So much to absorb, and I think hopefully, again, our goal, the Chamber's goal and Senator Hoeven's goal is to make sure that there was information you can take back with you, have conversations and dialogue about how we can continue to push forward innovation in our community. Some big takeaways for me. Number one is when Senator Hoeven says you're the CEO of a company, just roll with it, right? Might be a career-limiting move to correct him on stage, but second of all is just who knew there was so much technology in snowplows? Wow, Zoe, you have a future in stand-up comedy. If for some reason STEM doesn't work out. Media Productions, thank you so much. It's very difficult to put on a great show like this. Rudy, congrats to scaling that ladder in the dark. I don't know how you do it. Let's give Media Productions a round of applause. And last but not least, congratulations to our winners tonight, to our presenters, to the Chamber, to Senator Hoeven for putting on a great event. I'm so excited about our future here in North Dakota. We can surely be the state of technology here in North Dakota. So thanks so much. Have a great rest of the day, and thanks for joining us today. Thank you.